name is Dennis Sperling. If you've been involved in an accident, call me and I'll fight for you. I'm not an actor or a celebrity spokesperson. I'm a real trial lawyer, and I'll appear before real judges and real juries on behalf of people with serious injuries. So when I say I'll fight for you, I mean it, and I'll back it up. If you've been hurt in an automobile or 18-wheeler accident, contact me toll-free at 866-529-2444, and I'll fight for your rights.
Think about this, Jeff, man. This is the same culture that allowed, how many was it, 120 million blacks to be kidnapped from the west coast of Africa and brought all the way over to this new world. Right. And we still here 400, 500, 6 years later, no help from our brothers in that. This is the same culture. Like what we still have the same disunity.
Or in LA.
Okay, all right. So here, bro, why is that bad if it benefits them?
Because they came together to.
Why is that bad if it benefits them?
This is what
they're doing it because it benefits them.
Because it says African Americans, it specifically mentions us because we were getting resource streams after the civil rights movements and the money was going to us. They decided to not be white no more.
Okay, great. That benefits them. You don't get what I'm trying to say. Why are we mad at them for doing what benefits them?
Because that was a move against us. They were like, hey, these black people get money.
But why are you mad at them for doing what benefits them?
I'm not mad at them for that, but we should do the same thing and on some op shit.
There we go.
So take
the answer, brother. And you know what that means? That's what I've been saying this whole time. Unity. Don't worry about what they're doing. You focus on unifying yourself. See, all this complaining about what the next man is doing that benefits him, that's not taking us any steps further. But she's not going to have any access to that 800 million. Now, she probably was getting $1 million a month from her husband. I can't see how he didn't have $1 million. Here's a black card, baby. Go do what you do. But so now she's in a situation where, damn, I'm about to lose everything because I had a miscalculation. And that's where the old saying go, pigs get fat and hogs get slaughtered. That's old brother saying. So she tried to be a hog and now she's about to get slaughtered. You see what I'm saying, bro? So, you know, that's unfortunate, but I don't feel sorry for Dr. Dre. I feel sorry for the guy that's making $15,000 working at Sam's Club or Walmart, who has 2 kids by a woman who has 3 other kids, and he the only one paying child support, and his child support goes to paying all these other kids. That's the one I feel sorry for. Well, I've been practicing law going on 21 years now, licensed in Texas, Louisiana, Illinois, and New York. I'm also licensed to practice in several federal courts and the United States Supreme Court, along with the Fifth Circuit, U.S. Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. I started off at Grambling State University. I went to Southern University for law school, graduated in 2000, took the bar July 2000, scored a perfect score. And then when I went on to Tulane University Law Center, where I got an LLM in environmental and energy related law. My love has always been tort law, environmental law. I started off wanting to be a biologist. Well, I wanted to be a veterinarian. Then I kind of said, I don't know about that. After they had me dissecting rats. So I'm like, I think I'll stick to the lawyer stuff. But either way, you know, I enjoy what I do. I practice personal injury law in Texas, mostly Texas and Louisiana. And recently, since 2017, I've been heavily involved in environmental tort litigation here in Houston.
Dramatization.
After a car wreck, you may have to fight with a highly trained insurance company rep whose job is to knock your damaged claim down and out. It's a bad idea to enter the ring alone against a trained boxer, and it could be a bad idea to fight against a big insurance company by yourself. When the bell rings, attorney Dennis Sperling will be there to fight for your rights. If you've been seriously injured in a car wreck, call me, attorney Dennis Sperling, at 866-529-2444. That's 866-529-2444. Hey, what's up, everybody? If you appreciate the format and you appreciate what we're doing here, then make sure you contribute to the Cash App, make sure you contribute to the PayPal, make sure you donate to the Super Chat. It's only you and your contributions that keep this thing going. Thanks.
And we got a lot of stuff going on politically. And the question that I presented today for the brothers here is, this is my statement, just because Trump has been voted out doesn't mean that the show is over. 70 million fervent followers voted for him in 2020, despite knowing all of his shortcomings. Trump is a symptom. He is a reflection of how nearly 1/2 of Americans feel. How does this affect Black men? Let's talk about it. And as the opening statement, it was 2021 and beyond, 70 million Trump voters aren't going anywhere. Look, unless you've been living under a rock, you know that 5 people have been shot and killed in Washington, D.C. As of now, related to the protest outside the Capitol building. One of them is this gentleman, Benjamin Phillips. He basically runs a Trump website, pro-Trump website called Trumparoo, where patriots can mobilize against the corrupt, communist, Marxist, scummy Democrats. Here's another one. We just learned avid Trump supporter Kevin Greeson, who regularly posted online about getting his guns and taking the country back, was one of the 4 people who died in the siege. It was 5 people who died in the siege of the Capitol. Post from Greeson wishing bad things to happen to Nancy Pelosi and identifying with the Proud Boys were found as well. So here's what I'm saying, fellas. You know, these guys, these people are not going anywhere. Because see, all that's going to happen is once these white folks, you know, nature's going to take its course, and 50, 100 years from now, this is going to be predominantly probably a Latino country. You see what I'm saying? You going to still be mad? Because they know what
a bad thing. I mean, where are they? It's just another group of white folks.
They're going to do what benefits them. What are you going to do to benefit you? I can't be mad at Ariel or other Hispanics for doing what benefits them, bro. My Slim told me this a long time ago, man, when I was a youngster, man. He's a hustler. Anybody who reads my book, he said, man, you never get mad at another man about his own stuff. I can't get mad about the Hispanic man for doing what's in his own benefit. Hey, I can't get mad at the white man for doing what's in his own benefit. You see what I'm saying? If I'm weak enough that what he does F's me over, that's my own damn fault.
I mean, it was on the sneak. This happened before I was born, bro. This was your generation, 1980s, the early 80s. It was.
Man, how old are you, bro? How old are you?
36, bro.
You 36. I'm 46. We the same age, bro.
I'm 48.
We the same age, Megatron. You a grown man. You not a baby. You a grown man. We the same age. You understand what I'm saying? We're viable and living at the same age right now. It's just as much your responsibility as mine, brother. Life that you have for Black men who are, you know, being shamed and people harassing them and stuff about, you know, the wife that they choose, the women they want to date. Well, what's your advice to these brothers, man?
I mean, focus on your purpose. You know, like they need to keep their head down like you did and focus on their purpose, whatever that may be. You know, I would say also try and get yourself into a situation where, you know, you're free. You know, you have a job that you can work online. So you can optimize your time doing other things or start another business. I mean, that should be your focus. You know, the haters are always going to be there. They're not going to disappear. All right. And you just got to keep focused on your purpose and do you. I mean, we used to have that back in the day, right? Before, you know, focus on yourself is just do you, and everything else should, you know, iron itself out.
They didn't do. We won't pick sides. What we won't do is get ourselves involved in these sort of political skirmishes that have been going on between the two factions in this country for hundreds of years. What we need to do is take this opportunity to build our own infrastructure, deal with our own internal issues, and not get baited into Republican and Democratic talking points or conservative or liberal talking points. It really doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, they're just trying to figure out who's going to be in control of these resources that the dominant society has taken from the rest of the world. It has nothing to do with us. And so when I see Black folks picking sides, yeah, it's great. I don't care if you voted for Trump. I don't care if you voted for Biden. It doesn't matter to me, because at the end of the day, you're still a Black person, especially you as Black men. You as a Black man, you need to focus on what you need to do. Make yourself a better person. Figure out what it is you need to enhance your position in this world right now. That's what you need to do. You don't need to get caught up into what Trump is doing. Oh my God, I can't believe that he needs none of your business. Nothing. Because as soon as they finish with them, they're gonna go right back to you.
I'm not a lawyer, but my daddy is. Yeah. If you've been hurt in a car accident, call my daddy. No need to scream and yell like a little kid. Yeah, no. My daddy will fight for your rights. Yeah, fight for your rights. If you've been involved in a car accident, call my daddy, returning Dennis Sperling.
Hello, I'm attorney Dennis Sperling. If you've been injured in a car wreck, call me at 713-229-0770.
Call my daddy.
Dennis was called to participate on a panel to speak to that. And when Dennis' time came up, he said, no, I disagree with Lonnie Love. This is a very simple issue. She is too big to get the kind of men that she wants. It's that simple.
Real simple. And anybody, I mean, is anybody willing to tell the emperor that he has no clothes on at this point? Like, who's going to stand up and just say, no, it's because you weigh like 350 pounds. That's why you can't get the men that you want. That's why you can't get these top-notch men that you want. You know, and nobody's willing to, say that, man. And that's just unfortunate. But you know what? Part of being an adult is not being able to get everything you want.
That's true. That's true.
And unfortunately, a lot of these sisters, man, they feel like they're settling for a brother that works at the local Exxon plant that makes $120,000 a year. They think they're settling for a police officer up in New York that makes $180,000 a year. They think they're settling for a brother who's a school teacher or administrator making $80,000 a year. In their mind, they all deserve a 50 Cent. They all deserve a Barack Obama. They all deserve you name it, a Future. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So,
man, and you also brought up Trump. So I'm going to ask the question, the elephant in the room is, why is it that the recent polls are indicating that 25% of Black men are set to vote for Donald Trump? He's a racist. He doesn't like anybody. He's mean. He's foggity. He lies. He got a bunch of side women. He's a bad man, according to some of the cable news outlets. Why is it that Black men are voting for Donald Trump, or set to vote for Donald Trump, according to the latest polls, or some of the polls, to the tune of 25%? Can you please explain that phenomenon? Whereas, by contrast, Black women are still on the Democratic side and voting for them in the upper 90s. Can you, by your analysis, can you explain that to the audience?
Well, I'm thinking that Black men are growing more and more frustrated with these left politicians, and they came out in 7% in 2016 for Donald Trump. And the number has increased because when they look at the cities that are run by Democrats, a lot of these black men are not seeing any sort of progress that benefits them. So they look at these Democrats and they're saying, I'm not getting what I need, especially working class, everyday black men out here. They're not seeing any sort of tangibles being offered to them by the Democratic Party. So a lot of them left. And one of the things that led to a lot of them leaving in 2016 was the fact that we had all of these murders of black men, like Eric Garner, like Michael Brown, Trayvon Martin, and your Barack Obama's Department of Justice did nothing in any of these cases. So these black men were sitting there hoping that the black president would provide them with justice, but the black president decided to blow off black men. And when he blew off black men, those black men decided to go to the other side. And now more and more of these black men are seeing some of these indirect benefits from a Trump presidency, because Trump's policies that deal with immigration actually lead to the indirect hiring of black men on jobs. And these black men are seeing that they can get employment, they can get economic footsteps that they couldn't get as related to the Obama presidency. And they're also seeing that the Trump administration has made a few little inroads here and there as related to trying to get justice for black men in some cases. Now, I'm not saying all cases, but we've seen in the case of the cases like George Floyd, we saw some action, I think, as related to that case. Whereas Barack Obama did nothing. His attorney general in the case of George Zimmerman practically ignored black people. And when he ignored black people and he did nothing about George Zimmerman, he basically created Donald Trump. And that's something people don't understand about Barack Obama. If it wasn't for his inaction on Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman, Donald Trump wouldn't be in the White House today.
Hey, what's up, everybody? If you appreciate the format and you appreciate what we're doing here, then make sure you contribute to the Cash App, make sure you contribute to the PayPal, make sure you donate to the Super Chat. It's only you and your contributions that keep this thing going. Thanks.
I will scream and I will holler. Then I'll scream and holler some more, saying absolutely nothing.
You have a choice in legal representation. And in making that choice, do you want an attorney with a made-for-TV nickname to represent you in your serious car wreck claim?
I will growl, kick, and scream.
My name is Dennis Sperling. If you've been involved in a motor vehicle accident, contact me toll-free at 866-529-2444. The choice is yours. Hey, what's up, everybody? If you appreciate the format and you appreciate what we're doing here, then make sure you contribute to the Cash App, make sure you contribute to the PayPal, make sure you donate to the Super Chat. It's only you and your contributions that keep this thing going. Thanks. Hey, if you're enjoying the content here at Dennis Sperling Unfiltered, make sure you support it by sharing, and subscribing to the channel. And also, hit that little notification bell in the corner so that you'll get notice of each and every one of our live feeds. The only time black men are allowed to speak is when it benefits others. So hey, this is your opportunity to speak. I want to hear from you. And if you want to make this voice louder and clearer, then what you need to do is contribute to the Cash App, the PayPal, and the Super Chat. I appreciate you. All right. What's up, you guys? Welcome to the Sunday sermon. I got my boys in here, and I'm bringing them in for a reason, because I have some interesting conversations I want to have. So today, boys, I like to talk about the Bible on Sunday. Mm-hmm. And I have my Bible here. Passing my Bible, please. Yeah, this is my Bible, and it was given to me
by the Clayton family in Los Angeles, California, maybe 20-something years ago, right after I finished law school. And they told me to always keep the word with me. And so I did. And the thing is, when I was a little boy, about my boy's age, my grandmother, that's a picture of my grandma. My grandmother, her name was Elmira Williams. She used to take me to church. And that's her right there. She's a woman from Mississippi. And she's about 80 years old on this picture. She used to take me to church. I didn't want to go to church. I didn't really like church. Like many of you, I went just because I had to go. And, you know, I really wasn't that into the word, you know, as a young boy, kind of like you dudes, like you know about God, but you hadn't really picked up the Bible and read all the verses or anything, have you?
No.
Yeah. So, you know, it wasn't until after I got older and I got about in my 30s that I really began to look into the Bible. And I saw just how powerful the words in the Bible are. And then there's a story of the Isrealites. You know who the Israelites of the Bible are?
No.
Not really? Yeah, I didn't know at your age either. But I began to study the Bible, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And it was after I began to study the Bible, I began to learn a lot of valuable lessons, you know, about what's in there. And one of the things I learned about was the Isrealites. And there are lessons that you can be learned from reading the Bible, lessons that you can learn about life. And so I know you guys have experienced a lot of life lessons, and a lot of that comes in some of the things that I teach you guys and expose you guys to is because of the Bible. Now, again, this is my son, Roman. Say hi to everybody, Roman.
Hello.
And this is Dennis, my oldest son. These are my boys. And some of you guys who follow my page, you know Dennis and Roman. So I want to share a little footage with you guys. This is some stuff from yesterday, actually. And this is Roman here. Let me see if I can get the video footage up. Roman, if you want to maybe explain to everybody what's going on here, Roman.
He was warming me up.
Who is he?
Sensei. He was warming me up for the tournament yesterday.
Is Sensei nice to you?
No.
Right. Yeah. Now this is it. How long have you been going to Sensei?
6 to 7 years.
Yeah. That's you in the background, right? And that's you over here. You.
Us, huh? When you do it with some spirit. Us. Come on. You go on the punch, you don't go into a fight. You go in it with what?
Now,
look at my face. I'm ready to hit you. Boom.
Now what was Sensei getting?
My hand's here. Look. Boom. Us.
Now what was Sensei getting you ready for, son?
The tournament yesterday.
He was getting you ready for a fight, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And what does he do to you to get you ready for a fight? He makes you stronger, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what did he say? And that's Dennis over there. What does he say? If you're not ready for a fight, don't go, right?
Yeah.
You understand the wisdom in that? What happens if you go to a fight and you're not ready?
You get beat up.
You get beat up. What happens, Dennis, if you go into a fight and you're not mentally ready? Come on, get your head in there. Put your little head.
Lose.
Not only do you lose, but you embarrass yourself. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you have to train to get ready for a fight, right?
Yeah.
And that's what you're doing right there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't it? It's hard. And I see, Roman, you still punching. You got tears on your face. You're tired, right? But you still punching, right?
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
You better hit. stretch it out. She, stretch it. Go.
Yeah.
Go. Stretch it out. Hit.
And he makes it so you're perfect with your punches, right?
Yeah.
Two. Yeah. Us.
Does he care if you cry?
Mentally ready. Us. And you don't go into it. Us. Don't.
What did Sensei tell you? If you're not mentally ready for a fight, you don't go into it, right?
Yeah.
Right? You understand the rationale in that?
You can't get knocked out.
Because you can get knocked out, and then it's all over.
Stretch the jab and then drill. What? Not no sloppy stuff. What? Now come on, do the sweep. Do it like you mean it, Roman.
Now you got you doing some sweeps, right?
Yeah.
So you've been doing this for a long time, right? Since before you can remember, right?
Yeah.
So other stuff that we do is we train, right? We this is you lifting weights, right?
Yeah.
And why does Daddy have you lift weights?
Because it makes us stronger.
Right. Now you lift weights, and I know Dennis lifts weights too. Let's see, that's your brother lifting weights right there. This is Dennis lifting weights. You helping him out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so you do this. Sensei, nobody Daddy makes you do this, right? Daddy asks you to do it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Has it helped you in training you and making you stronger?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you understand why Daddy is training you like that?
Yeah.
Now, how much is that on there, Dennis?
That's 35.
Dennis, tell the people how much that is right there.
70.
You gotta look in the mirror, look in it. How much is it?
How much is the bar?
45, so that's
15.
15.
And how much, hold on a minute. Now how much is this right here?
135.
So that's 135 pounds, and you weigh 150 pounds, right, Dennis?
Yeah.
So, and people looking, I don't have them bring their elbows past the right angle, because after that you begin to tear up tendons in your shoulders. So this is the maximum lift without the damage. So this is my 14-year-old son benching 135 pounds 10 times. Or was it 10 or 12? Now, Roman, this is something I want to talk to you about. And I think it's very important because I need them to understand how I've raised you and your brother. Now, yesterday, after you finished with Sensei, you went to do a tournament, right? And you here. And so I just want you guys, everybody in the audience, if you can hear me, hit the number 1 button. If you guys can hear me, hit the number 1 button, right? So this is Roman, and this is the first match here. All right, this is your first match. And I want you guys to check it out, all right?
Yeah.
So he had to snatch you up off the boy, right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Let's see what's that was the first round.
Midsection. Sit in the middle. There you go. There you go.
Come on, coach, you letting him hit him in the face. I mean, what's up with that? You got to call it both sides. I mean, you were tired, weren't you? Good job, Roman.
You got 10 seconds.
I only get tired once I stop.
But see, it looks to me like you were ready for that fight. You see, anytime you beat somebody into the ropes and almost out the ring, that's a win, right?
Yeah.
In my opinion. But unfortunately, and you guys remember what happened in the first round, no animosity towards this guy, right? No, you're not mad at him. You fought, you did what you had to do. but the judges, they ruled in his favor, right? And you congratulated him, and you walked out of there like a man, right?
Yeah.
So this is what I want you to understand. How would I have responded if you was in there fussing? I can't believe it, you know. I wouldn't want you to do that, right? Because I told you to throw yourself in class and video. This is the second match, okay?
Yeah.
Right? This is the second match. And at this point, you didn't hold back anymore, right? You were ready for fighting, right? You already knew that they weren't going to cut you any breaks, right? You made the little boy quit, right? Yeah. And even after that, you weren't mean to him anything.
No.
All right, so the whole point of this is sportsmanship. Right? That's the wrong one. That's you dancing. Y'all look at you dancing. Yeah, that's another sport anyway. That's you too. Get out of there. So the thing is, I want to kind of show you guys something, right?
Yeah.
About your character and your sportsmanship. I appreciate that. Now I want you guys to look at this. Okay, this is a young lady. You guys know who this. I want you to look at this, right? This is a race that happened yesterday. Okay, check it out. Well, let's do this one next. Hold on. Okay, so this girl right here. Now, I don't know who the Jamaican woman was laughing at. She's definitely laughing loud. I mean, she clearly lost, right? The one. And I want you to look at her interview. I want you to look at her interview.
What did she say?
You tell me. Is this how I want you to handle yourself?
I can't hear it.
Well, let me see. It's gonna come on in.
Coming up today, it was a great return back to the sport. I wanted to be able to come and perform. Having a month off, dealing with all I was dealing with. I'm not upset at myself at all. This is one race. I'm not done. You know what I'm capable of. Count me out if you want to. Talk all the shit you want. Because I'm here to stay. I'm not done. I'm the sixth fastest woman in this game ever. And can't nobody ever take that from me. Congratulations to the winners. Congratulations to the people that won. But they're not done seeing me.
Why are they interviewing the winner?
Hey man, my thing is I get that, but I want you to understand. You see how she dealt with that?
Yeah.
Right. Now, aside from the nails, she's on national TV representing black people. You see what I mean? Just like you boys, y'all black boys, y'all black American boys. You come from, you know, you're your daddy's son. You see how she represented us?
Yeah.
How does that make you feel as a young black man seeing her on TV cussing and caring after coming in dead last?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so how does that make you feel about, is this someone you want to be friends with?
No. Ghetto.
But she ghetto, right? But you stuck with her. You understand that?
Yeah.
So, and let me give you one more. I'm gonna ask you this, and then I'll let you guys go. But it's a point I want to prove. I want you guys to give me. Hold on a minute. I want you guys to give me your play-by-play on this one too, because this is important too. And I like to hear what you guys have to say. Hold on. Let me see. Let's start it over.
He looks like a rapper.
He looks like a rapper. Yeah, but hold on. Let's run it back. Let's look at the play-by-play. Woman's in his face. She slapped him. He takes his glasses off. She punches. Watch this. Slapped him.
She had it coming.
She had it coming wrong.
It was a conversation.
She elevated the time. You see how she wasn't, neither one of them was ready for that fight. Right. You see?
Somebody get his glasses.
Now, he was clearly ready for that fight.
Yeah.
I think my whole point is, boys, and what I want you guys to understand is the Israelites, they were in Egypt. They were slaves in Egypt, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And they walked around for 40 years. God told them, I want you guys to go take the promised land, which was only about a 2 or 3 week walk away, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he made them walk around for 40 years because they said, we don't want to fight. And so God said, okay, well, y'all walk around for 40 years. What do you think happened in that 40 years? What happens when people just go about their business? What do people normally do? They eat,
Yeah.
they have babies, and what else?
They got comfortable.
Well, no, they have babies, and are the parents, you guys are different from me, right?
Yeah.
And
Oh, the kids wanted to fight.
the kids wanted to fight. The kids are willing to fight. So all the old people who weren't willing to fight, all the old people who were dragging everybody down, because what happens if you go in a fight when you're not ready?
You get
beat.
Yeah.
You get beat up. So what's the point of the Israelites going to the promised land if they were just going to get beat up because they weren't ready? So in that 40-year time period, all the people died. Now, here's the other thing you got to understand. Just like those people who didn't want to fight, we got hood rats and Pookie and Ray Rays. I know you don't know what a Pookie or a Ray Ray is, but imagine somebody that just like, man, this guy, he smokes drugs. He got like 10 baby mamas. He has a tattoo on his face. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You have to separate yourselves, not separate, but you have to let them die out. Because see, as black people, just like that young lady, the track star, we're all stuck together. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
We all stuck together. Like they're not going to separate you or your mom or your cousins or aunties from that young lady, ShaCarri Richardson. They're going to say, see, they're all ghetto. So we have to begin to distinguish ourselves from them. You see what I mean? You know, like the other day you were telling me in high school that you got one black friend, right?
Yeah.
But tell me about the other black friends in your high school. Not friends, but the other black kids that sit behind you.
They talk to each other.
What else are they? They loud? Maybe cussing.
Yeah, they don't curse because they can. Now they started going. The kids at my school, they started telling kids not to curse.
Right, but they're a little ghetto.
They act ghetto.
They act ghetto. Yeah. And so, do you want to be around them? How do you distinguish yourself from them? What did my cousin tell you about those type of people? When you get around them, you hanging around them.
You become like them.
Guilt by association.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you hanging around, you can be quiet as a church mouse, but if you hang around a bunch of people that are loud and ghetto and stuff like that, then everybody's gonna think you just like them. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens if you bring one of them ghetto girls like the young lady that was cussing on TV home to daddy's house? No. Right, because I want you to, you can't distinguish yourself from that type of person if you bringing that type of person into my house. There's some pretty little black girls out there. You see, there's some pretty little black girls that's mannerable and sweet and nice. You know, now you want to keep her like that. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you know, you guys, when you get older, you make your own decision as to what woman you want to be with. You know, that's your decision. But what I'm saying is you have to distinguish yourself from those people because they will take you down and that will take you back away from what we need to be doing. And that's retaking the promised land. Now, the promised land may or may not be real, but it is a place. It is an idea. How about we just consider the promised land our place in the world as black men and black people? You understand what I'm saying, man?
Yeah.
You get it? And good job to you for fighting as well as you did. My baby didn't come in first place. They gave him third place, but that's okay because you fought like a champion. And anytime you're knocking somebody through the ropes in a fight, especially when they're bigger than you, you're doing everything I need you to learn how to do. And that is learn how to protect yourself and how to fight. You see what I'm saying, man?
Yeah.
And, you know, the fact that you only weigh 90-some pounds. How much you weigh? 92 pounds?
95 to 97.
Well, 97 pounds.
97.
You're awesome. You look like you're gaining weight. But anyway, you guys can go, and I'm going to continue with this. Thank you. You want to say goodbye to everybody?
Bye.
All All right, bye. You guys go ahead. I'm gonna get back.
Bye.
Okay. All right, let me take a quick break and we'll get right back to what we were doing. You guys make sure you contribute to the Super Chat, the Cash App, and the PayPal, and we'll get back to our Sunday lesson, our Sunday sermon in a minute. Hey, what's up, everybody? If you appreciate the format and you appreciate what we're doing here, then make sure you contribute to the Cash App. Make sure you contribute to the PayPal. Make sure. Hey, if you're enjoying the content here at Dennis Sperling Unfiltered, make sure you support it by sharing, and subscribing to the channel. And also, hit that little notification bell in the corner so that you'll get notice of each and every one of our live feeds. All right, we're back. This is Dennis Sperling. I'm glad you all are back with me. Look, I want to have a very interesting, hopefully, and I appreciate my boys chiming in here. I think, you hear what we're doing. I want to bring this screen up real quick. I want you guys to check this out. I showed my boys ShaCarri Richardson and how she handled that loss, because it's the exact opposite of what I want them to do. I want them to handle themselves with dignity and class, and I want them to carry themselves that represents Black Americans well. What we have here, what's going on is, and what should be clear, and which has always been clear and apparent, is that there's a cultural divide between the Black community and that it is widening. As Chris Rock says, he loves Black people, but he hates ninjas. I get that. James Morton, a friend of mine from Facebook, said, I noticed it years ago when my cousin said to me, he's all right, he smokes crack a bit. Who doesn't? We don't. There's an ever increasing element that condones the negative and embarrassing character in the community. They increase because they're outbreeding the intelligent members 8-to-1. There is a great difference between knowledge and intelligence, and if we don't address the issue, we're doomed. And so, look at the dust up surrounding ShaCarri Richardson. It's not that Black people don't support her efforts as a Black woman, rather if she acts like a hood rat. And she is the female version of Pookie and Ray Ray, loud, undignified, drug-using, foul-mouthed, lesbian, masculine representing herself. She's like a ghetto minstrel show caricature, you see? Nothing is off limits, not even how you represent yourself on national TV. It was different when it was just stuck to YouTube. We saw this ghetto behavior on YouTube and Facebook, but now it's on national TV, international TV. It's sanctioned and it's expected. Unfortunately, dignified, hardworking Black women and men are lumped in with her. And white supremacy will always give props to Black dysfunction because it serves their purpose and it helps them perpetuate these negative stereotypes. We as Black Americans are stuck with them in this wilderness. So what we have to do is we have to begin to distinguish ourselves from the hood rats, the Pookies, and the Ray Rays. And so that's why this Sunday sermon is one that I think is important, and this is kind of a carryover from last week. Exodus. What do Black Americans have in common with the Isrealites in the Bible? So here's what you guys should understand. The story of the Bible is, the stories in the Bible are, and I know I'm going to step on some toes. When we start equating the Bible to history, that's when we start making mistakes. But, better than me, I want you guys to listen to Dr. John Henrik Clarke. For those of you guys who don't know who Dr. John Henrik Clarke, he was one of the most brilliant African-American historians. His bona fides as far as being a Black scholar is unchallenged. He's brilliant. Much of what you hear today, much of the Black scholars that you hear today, they are basically going off of his work. And so I want you to hear what he had to say in one of his greatest lectures. So I want you to just kick back, listen to this. Make sure you hit the number 1 button. If you can hear me, hit the number 1 button, family. I want you guys to hit the number 1 button right now. And also, thank you, W. Alfonso. I appreciate you. You say, thanks for showing us a great example of fatherhood. Yeah, man, I I preach what I live how I preach. You know, I teach my sons the same things I'm teaching you brothers. You see, and I explained to them, we can't separate from them. We're tied to the Pookies, the Ray Rays, the Hood Rats, the N-words. We're stuck with them. Okay, but what we can do is begin to differentiate ourselves from them. We can begin to establish who we are and who they are, right? And then separate ourselves from them. I tell my sons, don't bring nothing like that to my house. I don't care how fine she is, what she look like. Don't bring that in here. You know, that's not what I'm looking for my grandchildren. And you make sure you remember that. But thank you so much. If you guys appreciate what I'm doing, make sure you hit the number 1 button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. But I'm going to let Dr. John Henrik Clarke play. He speaks for himself.
I was supposed to be here early. They gave me another assignment. They didn't pick me up to go to the.
All right, let me know if you can hear. If you can hear Dr. John Henrik Clarke, hit the number 1 button.
Assignment. I followed the instructions and waited at the hotel. I would love to be here when I can be more fully in depth on this subject, because there's a whole lot of illusions about Africa's relationship with other people in the world. There's a whole lot of illusion about our relationship to the religions in the world. And these belief systems that had its origin in Africa, all of them, and there is no exception, turned on African people. I said there is no exception. And there's one thing you have to get through your mind and keep it. Nothing that ever came from the European mind was meant to do anything but facilitate European domination of the world. And I said there's no exception. Everything that was brought into this continent, everything, every idea, every so-called religion was meant to dominate and to control. The Arabs had no illusions about it. The Europeans had no illusions about it. You were the ones with the illusions. And yet every element that went into the making of every major religion in the world started in Africa. Why is it that you are so naive? You let people redress something that you invented.
What you heard him say is that every major religion, the elements of it started in Africa. Remember that, okay? Remember that. Hit the number 1 button if you guys hear me. I'm going somewhere with this. I'm going to tie it all in at the end. Just keep listening. Hit the number 1 button, family.
Did it, sell it back to you, and enslave you through it. I'm saying that all organized present religions are male chauvinist murder cults. And I say there is no exception. Why I wanted to be here early, I wanted to deal with our relationship with the people of the world and the fact that we created peaceful nations that had no word for jail because no one had ever gone to one. No word for old people's home because no one ever threw them away, grandma and grandpa. No word for orphanages. We did all of this, and over half of human civilization was over before we knew that a European was in the world. Before he wore a shoe or lived in a house that had a window.
Dr. John Henrik Clarke just pointed out something that everybody who's educated knows, and this is the importance of education. Black civilization was over halfway over, right? The vast majority of that had happened before we even knew white people existed. Biologically speaking, the blonde-haired, blue-eyed, pale-skinned genes that allowed us to, well, what we refer to as the phenotype of white people, it just came about 8,000 years ago. We have civilizations that are 80,000 years old. So it's only through evolution that they just popped up. So when we have black people that give credit to white people, oh, as though they're the all-powerful God, it's not that. They just took over They've been around. They've done what they had to do to come up and, and take over the world. But the bottom line is, this is very, in as far as history is concerned, this is a very new occurrence. So I want you guys to listen to Dr. John Henrik Clarke some more, and then we'll put it in context as related to the Bible. But he's going to talk about Christianity specifically and its origins.
Now, Africa has always and still is the prize for the whole world. We as a people have always been the world's richest people, culturally rich, mineral rich. We have always been the prize because we have always had and still have something that other people won't, think they can't do without, and don't care to pay for. Because we have always been the prize, we have been under siege for over 3,000 years. Nothing that ever brought into Africa from the outside was meant to do the Africans any good. That means all other religions. Islam was the handmaiden of Arab imperialism. Christianity.
Now, I want you to hear that. He said Islam is the handmaiden of Arab imperialism. What does that mean? Islam is the handmaid of Arab imperialism. He's not letting Islam off, just like he's not letting Christianity off. What do? They came in, the Arabs came in with their Islam, and they use it as a way to basically subordinate Africans to them. And I'm not talking about the Africans that they have in Egypt and Libya now. I'm talking about broad-nosed, thick-lipped, dark-skinned, nappy-haired, sub-Saharan Africans. That's what they did. They used that to subordinate us as Black people. So let's continue to listen.
Christianity was the handmaiden of European imperialism. The Hebrew faith was the handmaiden of a concept called the chosen people. Now, if God is kind and God is merciful and God has no stepchildren, he won't choose one over the other. And to say he chose some people, you're making him a bigot. And to say that he endorsed enslavement of one people over the other, you're making him an accessory to murder. The Arabs used Islam to rationalize their slavery and their imperialism. The Europeans used Christianity to rationalize their slavery and imperialism. Who are you kidding about friends in the world?
How many of you guys have ever heard of Dr. John Henrik Clarke? Who? If you have never heard of Dr. John Henrik Clarke, hit the number 2 button. If you have heard of Dr. John Henrik Clarke, hit the number 1 button. Okay. If you have heard of Dr. John Henrik Clarke, hit the number 1 button. If you have not heard of him, hit the number 2 button. Go ahead. I want to know as you guys listen to this brilliant scholar.
Damn it, if you want a friend, look in the mirror. There's a billion African people on the face of this earth. Why do you find third-grade junk from third-grade people thinking you can't make it? Why don't you at least make a safety pin and hold your child's diaper together? Teach. Who has programmed your mind into thinking you can't make a car? The first man that made a car, they had never seen one previously. The Japanese bought cars, bought locomotives, broke them down and studied them, and had a Japanese technician produce each piece, put it together, and had a much better train than the one they copied from. All knowledge in the world belongs to everybody in the world. Yes. Who has programmed our mind in assuming that we cannot run a nation and run it well? The main thing imperialism did, slavery and imperialism, they removed African people from the respectful commentary of history. And they tell them something they are still telling them, and all of the organized religions are guilty of this. I favor none of it because Africa didn't need any of it. I'm saying that African belief systems, properly understood, is 10 times better than Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. And better than ever. Now you might have some romance with one of these religions. I have no romance with any of them. I have a romance with reality and truth. And the children can all the way out our telling. As for friends, you have had no friend. When they discovered you, they began to prey on you. Now let's look at our relationship with Western Asia, mistakenly called the Middle East. For 3,000 years, our greatest enemies came from Western Asia. They were trying to avenge the fact that they were once African colonies.
All right, you guys got to get the likes up. I know we're getting caught up into this conversation, but hit the #1 button, get the likes up, and also contribute to the super chat, the Cash App, and the PayPal. We'll continue, but make sure you contribute to the super chat, the Cash App, and the PayPal.
Book called When Egypt Ruled the East, and you get some of the basic information on this. Now, the first visitors to Africa came in the 1700s BC. These were the people who would later be called Hebrews. Now, black people are ticklish on this because black people think that everything in the Bible is true.
Listen.
I question the intelligence of anyone who thinks everything in the Bible is true or supposed to be true.
I want you to hear that. Dr. Henrik Clarke, who's one of our greatest scholars, and he himself loves the Bible. He actually is quoted once as saying, "Don't throw the Bible away." He questions anybody who thinks that everything in the Bible is true. He questions their intelligence. Now, that I want you to hear what he has to say again, because I don't want you Bible thumpers to get too angry. Listen to it. There's lessons in the Bible, but listen to it. Listen to him again.
You read a book called When Egypt Ruled the East, and you get some of the basic information on this. Now, the first visitors to Africa came in the 1700s BC. These were the people who would later be called Hebrews. Now, black people are ticklish on this because black people think that everything in the Bible is true. I question the intelligence of anyone who thinks everything in the Bible is true or supposed to be true. It's allegory, stories told to illustrate a point at a time when there were very few people reading books. And most of what went into the making of the Bible was copied from Egyptian texts. Now, if you want to get so dewy-eyed over the
most of which, in the Bible was copied from Egyptian text. This is one of the most learned black men that has ever lived on this planet. One of the greatest African scholars that we've ever had, Dr. Henrik Clarke. And I want you guys to listen to this again, right? Listen to what he says again.
Make a point at a time when there were very few people reading books. And most of what went into the making of the Bible was copied from Egyptian texts. Now, if you want to get so dewy-eyed over the Bible, which is a carbon copy of a carbon copy, why don't you go back and read the original Egyptian text? Then you see where all these stories started from. You see where the story of the Exodus started from. Now, you get so dewy-eyed, you actually think there was an Exodus. These people walked into Africa. Why couldn't they walk out? Why did they have to go by sea? Why did they see at the park? If you read Egyptian literature, you will discover that the whole story of somebody parting the sea started with about 3,000 years before the Hebrew entrance. I should not use the word Hebrew entrance, before the entrance from Western Asia. Now let's get one thing straight, because black people are confused about all religions. Now,
the story of Asia, he said, the story of the Exodus started about 3,000 years before these folks even came into Africa. That's what Dr. John Henrik Clarke is telling you. That's his research. That's what he's in this. So understand what you're learning from this great man. This is not Dennis Sperling telling you this. This is Dr. John Henrik Clarke, one of our most brilliant, I would say, probably the most brilliant Black historian that has ever existed in the United States. Let's continue listening.
I'm not against any religion. I'm a very spiritual human being. I just don't need a preacher to preach no 10 commandments to me when he's a backslider going with some other man's wife.
So we'll leave it at that. We'll revisit Dr. John Henrik Clarke. He was not a Freemason. See, you know what I find interesting? You guys, when you hear something you don't want to hear, you begin to call people names. You call them agents. This is Dr. John Henrik Clarke. You would be an agent more than him. You would be a Freemason more than him. This is the man right here. This Black man dedicated his entire life to the liberation and upliftment of Black people. And so you got to stop that. Just because you hear something that burns your ears and makes you upset, it goes against what you said. You're lying to yourself, and you're going to remain ignorant. And if you continue with that, accept the truth when you hear it, family. That's all I'm saying. He's our most learned scholar, as Devin Lockett said. You just because you study, like he says, you have a romance with some of these religions. Many of you Muslims, I love you Muslim brothers, but you cannot convince me to become a Muslim. Let me tell you what. My great-great-grandfather was a Muslim who came from overseas, who came from India, and he landed in the Caribbean, and he founded one of the first mosques. I'm not a Muslim because I know the Prophet Muhammad, peace be unto him, was a slave owner. And as a Black American man, I don't want the center point of my religion to be a slave owner. That's why I stick with Christianity. Why? Because Jesus Christ wasn't a slave owner. He was a copy. He was a carpenter by trade. This is what I'm trying to tell you guys. Many of you are in love with these religions. Many of you are in love with these religions because you have a romance with them, but you've been fed a slave-making religion. And it is like talking to a brick wall. And because it's a slave-making religion, it will give you whatever you need in order to keep you enslaved. That's why we don't have preachers coming out talking about this hood rat, Pookie and Ray Ray culture that we have that has infested Black America. And so I'm talking to you from a place of love. But if it angers you because I'm giving you information and I'm substantiating, who else better than Dr. John Henrik Clarke to tell you what your African heritage was and how it's related to the Bible? You got people out there telling you you're not African, that our people were over here, and that, that some kind of way that, we ended up with 400 million Black people who have the same genetic makeup as Africans in Africa, sub-Saharan Africans, but some kind of way we were here already. Those are just lies. They're lies because they've romanced religions that now they're stuck at. So they look for information to try to justify those lies. It's just misinformation. It doesn't even, the Bible and the holy, the Bible and the Bible and the history doesn't say that. And so this is where we are right now. So me trying to talk to you and tell you things that make you uncomfortable and make you upset, it's not that I don't, and now you got people you saying Dr. John Henrik Clarke you saying he's a sellout, he's an agent, he's a Freemason, he's all these different things. It's because it's burning your ears to hear this, family. That's the problem. It bothers you because now you have to change. See what I'm saying? Now you have to change. So let's go ahead and start this lesson this morning. So and I'll put if you guys want to see Dr. John Henrik Clarke, it's called "You Have No Friends." That's that lecture. So let's talk a little bit about the Exodus. Okay, the Exodus was what? It's the story of the Israelites as they left, as they exited Egypt, is written in the Bible. Okay, and so what happened? Well, I'm gonna read it. Well, what is an Exodus, Dennis? Exit sounds, it is what it sounds like. We leaving, right? You guys heard God brought down plagues upon Egypt and Pharaoh, and you let my people go, then we're gonna destroy this whole thing. And there's something to that too. There was actually real life plagues in Egypt. Many of you guys don't understand this, but the reason they wore wigs, or you don't know this, the reason they wore wigs because there was a lice infestation in Egypt. Many of these old world colonies, they had lice, horrible lice. Same thing in Europe. That's why they cut their hair off and wore wigs. And so when you see these Egyptians with these long, extravagant wigs, it's because they had lice there. Same thing in Europe. The reason they wore those wigs is because they had lice and other vermin. This is what you're dealing with there. And so because of that, that's just a little tidbit of information for you. And I asked you to verify that. But so what happened? They parted the Red Sea. They ended up in the wilderness. Now, I've explained to you guys before that the Bible is a book of rules which govern society, which govern how society should conduct itself. So what does that mean? Can you exist in a society that is filled with chaos, or do you have to have order? I tell people all the time, or you've heard this, right? Cleanliness is next to godliness. But what does that really mean? Well, if something is clean, is it in a chaotic state, or does it have order to it? It has order. So that's why they say cleanliness is next to godliness, because God symbolizes order. God symbolizes truth. God puts things in its proper place. Order, truth brings order. This is what we're dealing with. That's why they say cleanliness is next to godliness, because it brings order. It's not clean. You can have, your house can be in disorder and be clean. So that's why cleanliness is not godliness, it's next to godliness. Order is akin to it. So order versus chaos. The Bible shows you how to maintain order in your society. Just like the story of Heru and Isis and Osiris, that story was about a hero bringing order back to a chaotic society, because that's eventually what happens. Now, you have the Israelites. They have decided to go off and start their own land, their own country, they're going back to the promised land where they can be with their own people and live and have their own rules and regulations. So what happens? They're in, what are they going to have to do for it? Well, we understand that they're going to have to fight for it. Isn't that what God said do? God said what? You're going to have to fight for it. You're going to have to fight. And what did they want to do? They didn't want to fight for it. So where did God take why did God take the Israelites through the wilderness? Well, for God said if they face war, they might change their minds and return to Egypt. So God led the people around the desert road towards the Red Sea. And that's in Exodus 13, 17, and 18. When Pharaoh decided to chase them, which God knew he would, the Israelites have been surrounded if they would have taken the direct route. So the first thing you understood is that they weren't ready for war. And like I pointed out earlier, and like my young son pointed out, and as his sensei was telling you, if you're not ready for a fight, don't get into a fight, because you're just going to lose. And I showed you the picture of that young woman who was screaming at that black man with the dreadlocks at the Detroit game. And she wasn't ready for a fight. Her husband or whoever that gentleman was wasn't ready for a fight, and they lost. That's the principle I'm talking about. Surely, if we can point that out, if that's an everyday occurrence here, of course, the Most High would know that. They weren't ready for a fight. And so what did he make them do? He made them walk, right? How many times? Well, why did it take 40 years for the Israelites? Well, corresponding to the 40 days that the spies toured the land, God decreed that the Israelites would wander in the wilderness for 40 years as a result of their unwillingness to take the land. God brought victories where needed, and his promise to Abraham was fulfilled. So eventually they got around to it. But what happened in that 40-year time period that they were wandering around? The following morning, and I want you to read this, the following morning, some 15,000 individuals were found dead in their graves. According to the tradition, this harrowing ritual was repeated annually for 40 years until the original 600,000 Israelites who left Egypt, those who doubted that they would attain the promised land, finally died off. So what is that telling you? We got to get rid of these ones that we're with if we're going to inherit the promised land. Now, what do you get if you're in the promised land? Well, what are you supposed to have in the promised? Well, you got your own place. And what is that? You have peace there, right? You have order there. This is what we're looking forward to, right? What did the Israelites say in the wilderness? Because so they was out there for a long time. Pharaoh will say the Israelites, they are wandering aimlessly in the land and wilderness is closed on them. I will harden Pharaoh's heart and he will pursue them. This is back kind of earlier on. Another one, what does the wilderness symbolize in the Bible? The wilderness is a locale for intense experiences of stark need for chaos and water. Okay, isolation, danger and divine deliverance. This is chaos. The Israelites are in chaos. They're in a lawless state. They are experiencing intense. This is where these Israelites are right now. They're in the wilderness. They're in a lawless, chaotic state. There is no order in the wilderness. Everybody's doing whatever they want to do, right? And of course, God provided. He gave them something to eat. You guys remember the manna and the honey, the bread. You remember that? What lessons did the Israelites learn while they were out there, right? Be patient. The Israelite waited generations to be freed from bondage. Faith must be nurtured. Plagues. They had to deal with a lot, right? Now, one thing I want you guys to understand is that what was Noah doing? Okay. There's a Bible verse, not a Bible verse, but there is, I want you guys to look at this article and I can try to pull it up real quick if I can. But there was at some point, Moses was basically sitting and judging the people. This is in Exodus 18, 13, and 27. Now, I want you to listen very carefully. And those of you who are intelligent and understand what I'm saying, you'll already know where I'm going with this. It's not hard to pick it up once somebody, but for those of you guys who need me to continue, I will. And that's what I'm doing here. Now, let me see if I can make this better. Exodus 18, 13, and 27. Let's read this. Are you guys still with me? Hit the number 1 button if you're with me. All right, we got 39 people in the chat room. Make sure you hit the number 1 button. The next day, Moses sat to judge the people, and the people stood around Moses from morning till evening. When Moses' father-in-law saw all that he was doing for the people, he said, "What is this that you are doing for the people? Why do you sit alone and all the people stand around you from morning till evening?" And Moses said to his father-in-law, "Because the people come to me to inquire of God. When they have a dispute, they come to me and I decide between one person or another, and I make them know the statutes of God and his laws." Moses' father-in-law said to him, "What are you doing? What you're doing is no good. You and the people, you will certainly wear yourselves out, for the thing is too heavy for you. You're not able to do it alone. Now obey my voice. I will give you advice, and God be with you. You shall represent the people before God and bring their cases to God, and you shall warn them about the statutes and laws and make them know the way in which they must walk and what they must do. Moreover, look for able men from all the people, men who fear God, who are trustworthy and hate a bribe, and place such men over the people as chiefs of thousands, hundreds of fifties and tens, and tell them judge the people at all times. Every great matter they shall bring you, but any small matter they shall decide. Let me see here. Themselves, so it will be easier for you, and they will bear the burden with you. If you do this, God will direct you if you do this, God will direct you. You will be able to endure, and all this people also will go to their place in peace. So Moses listens to the voice of his father-in-law, and he did all that. And he said, Moses, choose able men out of all of Israel and made them heads over the people, chiefs, thousands, hundreds, fifties, tens, and they judged the people at all times. Any hard case they brought to Moses, but any small matter they decided themselves. Then Moses let the father-in-law depart, and he went away to his country. So what's going on right here? They're setting up a judicial system. Moses was basically out in the wilderness with all these Israelites who were doing all kinds of stuff, right? Right? This is what they're doing. You out in the wilderness. And you got all these people with all these damn disputes. You got all these 600,000 people out here, right? And they cutting up and acting a fool and all that. So what do? Moses is trying to resolve their disputes. So Moses is doing what, family? He's acting as a judge. And so what did his father-in-law say? You damn fool, you can't sit here and do this for all these people. You're going to be sitting here all damn day. You lost your damn mind. What's wrong with you? You need to get some more people in charge, right? And that's what he did. They're establishing the laws that govern that society. Because again, what brings order to a society, family? What brings order to a society? What you can do, what he can do, what she can't do, what the kids can do. What brings order to society? Tell me. Come on. It's a one-word answer. Anybody who's hearing me, hit the number 1 button. What brings order to society? I told you guys earlier, what is the book about? What is the Holy Bible about? It's about bringing order to society. What do we call the Holy Bible? Right? Laws. Exactly. Now, what did Moses do after this? What else is Moses famous for in the Bible? What else is Moses famous for in the Bible? What did he do? Huh? What did Moses do in Exodus 24 and 12? Huh? Come on, y'all. It's an easy answer. What did Moses do? Huh? Talk to me. At first, he was sitting there judging. He brought forth the 10 commandments. So what did he do? He went to the hill, or he went to the mountain, right? That's what he did, right? And then he went to Mount Sinai. He stayed up there, and then he came back with what? The 10 commandments. So think about this. God has promised these people their promised land, and they are in chaos. So the first thing he did was he brought forth the laws that did what? That governed this society. Before they even get into the 10 commandments, he got them straight first. Letting the ones that died off, you got to get rid of them, and you got to bring order to the rest of them through laws. And what did he do? He went up to Mount Sinai, and he came back with 10 commandments. Now, he had been sitting there judging them for who knows how long before his father-in-law stepped in and said, hey, you clown, what's wrong with you? You're going to sit there. You got to take care of my grandchildren and your wife, my daughter. You can't be sitting here all day. Get some other people to do that. And then oh, yeah, that's a good idea, father-in-law. Thank you so much. Remember Moses, right? Remember who he was, right? Moses was dropped into Egypt. He dropped in the Nile, and he was adopted by Pharaoh's daughter, who basically a princess, and he learned he was treated basically just like royalty. And so what do we know about that? What do we know about the royal Egyptians? Do you think they would have gotten the best education available, right? So they would have learned all the principles of Egyptian knowledge, the Egyptian origins. They would have learned, I believe the term is Ma'at, the ideals of Ma'at, right? The 42 ideals of Ma'at. He was basically he was trained. He was one of the most intelligent, well-trained individuals in Egypt because he was who? The princess's son. This is who he was. And so it makes sense that Moses would sit and judge because he was privy to the 42 laws of Ma'at. Now, you heard what Dr. John Henrik Clarke said. Dr. John Henrik Clarke said, hey, everything in this Bible is basically stuff that was taken from Egyptian knowledge. It was basically, and then when you look at the 42 ideals of Ma'at, let's compare them. Okay, let's compare the 10 commandments to the 42 ideals of Ma'at. Now, this is aside from what, because see, I don't want you to leave the Bible alone. I just want you to have a better understanding of what you're reading. And it's not just about reading it, you have to analyze it. See, a lot of people read the Bible, but you don't actually analyze it. You're afraid to, you've been told to be afraid to dig a little deeper, you know, and try to get a better understanding. And that's unfortunate for you because it makes you ignorant. It makes you just enough to be dangerous to yourself and to anybody who's foolish enough to listen to you, right? So let's look at this right quick. The 10 commandments in order. I am the Lord, thy God, and thou shalt not have any gods before me. And what does this explain? This is a commandment forbids idolatry, the worship of false gods and goddesses, and prohibits polytheism and the belief in many gods, insisting instead on monotheism, the belief in God. This is a commandment forbids making golden calves, building temples to the Isis, and worshiping statues. Now, as far as the Black community, see, I think you guys got a misunderstanding of gods. You guys think of God, all the gods of these almighty people that live on Mount Olympus. You got the God of the mountain, the God of thunder. They had gods of flatulence. I forget the name. There was a Roman god of flatulence. There was, in other words, there was a god of the gas that you have in your stomach that comes out as a fart. That is a god. Okay, you had gods over reflection, the god of reflections, the god of anger, the god of war. And so what this is forbidding, and mind you, all this is happening in the Middle East. So, you know, you got all this different stuff from Egypt to Greece to Turkey to Rome and all these different places. All of this has been circulating around the Middle East. So you got gods from everywhere. It's not just these immaculate gods. You got gods of insects. You got gods of travelers and all these. And what did the Bible say? I am the Lord and thou shalt not have any other God. So that means you can't have a god of gas. You can't have a god of dung beetles. There are no gods. I'm the only God, right? So let's remember that. Okay, just let's put that in context. Understand that they literally had thousands of gods, and everybody had their own set of gods. So keep that in mind. Now, if you guys hear me hit the number one question, in the Black community, we have a god of hair weave, don't we? Don't we praise that hair weave? Don't our lovely ladies praise hair weave? They won't leave home without it, will they? We got a god of hair weave, a god of glue. And how do you know it's your God? Because you worship that. It's because you can't live without it. It's because you're not the same person without it. That's your God. It'd be easy to say, oh yeah, you worship money. No, you worship hair weave. And Black men, you worship booty. Because you will overlook a woman, plenty of her transgressions. She's a horrible mother, no job, no education. But because she has a nice body, a nice booty, that's your God. You might as well be praying to the God of booty. And what does the Bible say? I am the Lord thy God, thou shalt have no gods before me. Whatever you worship is your God. Whatever you can't do without is your God. Whatever you would pimp yourself out for, give your what's the word I'm looking for? Whatever your integrity falls because of this God. This is what I'm trying to tell you guys. This is where we are in the Black community. We have fallen short because one of the first commandments that Moses came down for is he says, what? Have no other gods but me, but you guys have more gods other than that. So think about that, right? Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord and use it in vain. What does that mean? The faithful are required to honor the name of God. It makes sense that if you're to love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, then you're naturally to respect the name of God with equal passion and vigor. If you respect somebody, you honor their word, don't you? And we know we're not honoring God's word in the Black community. We all guilty of that, right? We having children out of wedlock. We leaving these women by themselves. These women do not honor their mothers and fathers. The men don't honor their mothers and their fathers. We don't work the weather. We do all kinds of stuff. So that's an easy one. we got that figured out, right? And what happens again? Now, what happens when you don't follow the law that binds you? You have disorder in your society, and that's what we're looking at. The reason that the Black community is in so much chaos is because there's disorder, because we're not following the commandments of God. See, this is, I know you guys are like, man, this is a law book. I'm a lawyer. You see, the reason that a lot of these preachers and pastors fall short is because they're not formally educated and they don't know what to be educated on. As an attorney, I can look at the Holy Bible and say, I know what happens when people start putting the wrong things first. I know what happens when people start killing folk. I know what happens when people start disrespecting the law, and you get disorder. And that's why we have prison. We have prison for people who create chaos in society. So we lock them away until they learn, or forever, because they created chaos. Agents of chaos get put in prison. We punish them with prison. We lock them away from society because they cause chaos. Is this starting to make sense? You guys hit the number 1 button if you understand what I'm saying, fellas. If this is hitting home, if this is something new you haven't been adjusted, because I think we read the Bible, but we don't analyze the Bible. See, we read the Bible because somebody told us, but you don't really understand what you're reading. There are ramifications for violating the word of God. And the word of God, just think of it as rules to live by. That's what my whole book is about, rules to live by. So let's keep listening. Remember to keep the holy Sabbath day. The Jewish celebration of the Sabbath begins on sundown on Friday evening and lasts until sundown on Saturday. Catholic, Protestant, Orthodox Christians go to church on Sunday, treating it as the Lord's Day instead of Saturday to honor the day Christ rose from the dead. Now, I understand that many of you, and I'm not going to go into all of this, but many of you don't even understand how that works. How is it that Jesus died on a Friday and rose on a Sunday? How does that work? Because to me, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, that's 2 days, because we don't count Friday. He died on that day, right? Right? That's how you guys see it, right? He died on Friday because Friday starts at 12 o'clock. And so if he died on Friday in the afternoon, then it was still Friday when he died. And then Saturday is 1 day and Sunday is 2 days. So it really took this is how you guys think, right? This is how is that how y'all think? Hit the number 1 button if that's how you guys think. That's what it don't make sense to you, right? And that's what I mean. You guys are reading as opposed to analyzing it. Now, if you were to analyze it, then that means you would take some historical context, and you have to understand how the Jewish people or how the Hebrews registered days. Their day didn't start at 12 o'clock. The new day didn't start at 12 o'clock midnight. Their day started at sundown. So what does that mean? If you died on Friday, sundown was what? That was Saturday. Sundown, like I guess maybe 7 o'clock Friday evening. That was Saturday. So he died on Friday, Saturday, that's 1 day, okay? And then what happened? The next day, Sunday, or the Sunday started Friday evening at 7 o'clock. We're just assuming that Sunday is when 7 o'clock is when the sun went down. So you got 1, 2, 3. He died Friday, Saturday, Sunday, rose on Sunday. So they counted as 2 days. You see, so that's why he rose on the 3rd day. 1, 2, 3. That's the Jewish tradition. That's how they count it. And that comes from analyzing it, just like we're doing with Dr. John Henrik Clarke. I would be doing you a disservice if I mentioned the 10 Commandments and then didn't talk about the 42 laws of Ma'at, where Moses, who was a trained priest of Egypt, an educated man, the son of a prince, he would have been exposed to that. And so people who understand that, people who actually analyze the Bible, understand this man, this history, where he came from. You can't just say Moses, yeah, he was a Hebrew or he was an Israelite, but he was an educated man. He had a special set of circumstances. That information was flooded into him. Look at the Bible. Look what his mother, his adopted mother, said about him and what he would be taught. Everything. He would be treated like a prince of Egypt. And so he got all the education. Of course, he would take that, sitting and judging all these people. And then he said, you know what? My father's all right. Let me put some other people in charge. Matter of fact, I'm going to go up to Mount Sinai and I'm going to get with the Lord and I'm going to come down with these 10 commandments, because we need to have rules and regulations in this society that we plan on taking, along with getting rid of and separating ourselves, really really letting these people who are no good die off. We also have to have order. And that's basically what you see. Now I can go through all of these: honor thy mother and thy father. That makes sense. So the days of your life can be long. Thou shalt not kill. That makes sense. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. We kind of understand these. Thou shalt not bear false witness. In other words, don't lie on your neighbor, because that creates conflict. Thou shalt not covet your neighbor's wife. That creates conflict too. And thou shalt not covet your neighbor's good. Don't be looking at your neighbor's stuff. This is what we understand. Now I want to go to this real quick. We'll make this quick point for you guys, and then we're gonna move on to these are the 42 ideals of Mayat. All right, and let me pull this up real quick. Now the crazy thing is, you got so many people who consider themselves, we teasingly refer to them as hoteps, but they ain't never told you this, because they don't have any formal education. They don't have the education. They haven't been exposed enough. In order to become a great teacher, a great master teacher in ancient Africa, to become a griot, you had to master all the subject. And you would spend 50 years mastering philosophy, religion, astronomy, history, everything. And you had to know it. You would learn orally. The land, farming, you had to know everything. And so what you guys get, you get somebody who has some kind of, I don't know, maybe a prison education, or maybe at best you got some guys with an honorary doctorate degree, and they're teaching you. They don't know this stuff. The more information you know, the more bridges you create in your mind. It's easy for me to create a bridge of science between a bridge of science and biology and law, because I've been exposed to that, and mathematics and history, because I've been exposed to that. But they can't do it because they don't have the fundamental education. Education is it's about having it and applying it. But the more of it you have, more bridges begin to build. Wow, that's just like that. That principle is just like that principle. And the higher you get, just like any martial arts, the higher you get, the more they become together. At a certain point, if you're learning William Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, the higher belts, they begin to teach you striking and defensive. You see, at a certain point, if you're learning, say, Kung Fu, the higher your belt get, they teach you how to do what? They teach you how to grapple. This is what happens. And so the higher you get, the information begins to come together. That's why education is a lifelong journey. You can't just say, I got my 4-year degree. That's a basic. That's like having your white belt. You just got, that's great. It's once you get to that 3rd, 4th, 5th, 20, 40, 30 years of education. That's why the great griots, the African griots, you couldn't be a master. You couldn't be a griot unless you knew everything there was to know, basically. But these are some of the principles of Ma'at. This is what this would have been some things that Moses would have been taught in his education as an Egyptian prince. Honor and virtue. I benefit with gratitude. I am peaceful. I respect the properties of others. Where have we seen that? I affirm that life is sacred. Thou shalt not kill. I give offerings that are genuine. I live in truth. I regard all altars with respect. I speak with sincerity. I don't lie. I consume only my fair share. Don't be a glutton. I offer words of good intent. I relate to peace. Honor animals with reverence. Look at that. How about that? I can be trusted. I care for the earth. I keep my own counsel. I speak positively of others. I remain balanced with my emotions. I am trustful in my relationships. I hold purity in high esteem. I spread joy. I do the best I can. I communicate with compassion. I listen to opposing opinions. I create harmony. I evoke laughter. I am open to love in various forms. I am forgiving. I'm kind. I act respectfully of others, right? That's to your parents too, right? I'm accepting. I follow my inner guidance. I converse with awareness. I do good. I give blessings. I keep the waters pure. I speak with good intent. I praise the goodness. I praise the goddess, and the God. Okay, because remember, Africans, they had a duality when associated with God. So they had the mother, father God, not just the masculine. That's what Dr. John Henrik Clarke was saying when he says that we it's a patriarchal, basically a patriarchal, because they removed the whole goddess aspect of the God, but it's not. That's a whole nother subject. I'm humble. I achieve with integrity. I advance through my own abilities. I embrace the all. Okay, so you guys, are you guys with me? Because I know I probably lost most of y'all. I mean, I get it. I've been dealing with this for 40 years. You guys, this might be your first time even having to deal with this. But the bottom line is, this makes sense. If you understand, if you read the Bible literature, the Bible says what? Moses was what? Trained in Egypt. This is what he was taught. These would have been some of the things he was taught. So he understood in order to have a society, you had to have order in that society. In order to do what? In order to make sure that society functions. Otherwise, he would have long understood that the story of Heru and he would have Osiris and Isis and Seth. He would have understood that Heru came about to destroy to neutralize Seth. Otherwise, you can't have the society. It would have been in chaos. And so the same thing here. And I'm going to open up the chat room because I want to hear what you guys have to say. Tell me, whatever you want to tell me. I want to hear what you guys have to say. The link is in the chat room. But what we're dealing with in Black America right now is we have a separation going on. We have those who want to establish order in this chaos via these societal rules that we have to follow. And we have those who don't. We have those who want to keep the chaos going. We have those who want to continue disparaging our name and representing us like the ShaCarri Richardsons, carrying themselves in that disgraceful hood rat manner, that belligerent, disrespectful. And we have those of us who don't. And you have to begin to distinguish yourself from them and not associate with them on that level. This is what I'm telling you. Because we are in the wilderness right now, but we are beginning to establish laws. Moses is now sitting on that rock. And he's looking for judges. And who are you going to be appointed a judge at this point? And you're going to have to judge these people for their behavior, our own people, because they're still with us. And we got to wait for them to die off. This is what's happening. This is where we are. Anybody who wants to come in and talk about this conversation, I'd love to have you guys come in. I'm enjoying this. Hit the number 1 button if you appreciate what I'm doing, family. Hit the number 1 button. I hope you appreciate this. I spent a lot of time developing these. I want to challenge you. Again, I love reading the Bible. I love having these conversations. I hope that you're open to this. I'm only giving you, it's in your Bible. Read your Bible. All of this is right there in your Bible. You tell me what Moses was doing when he was with his mama. How old was Moses? 100-something years old when they left, almost. What was he doing there? Let's read the part where Moses was treated like an Egyptian prince for you Bible thumpers. I don't want to make you mad. Let's talk about it. And come on in. Let's get it. I want to hear what you got to say. Come on in. Anybody who wants to come in, the link is in the chat room. Let's go. And if you appreciate what I'm doing, contribute to the Super Chat, the Cash App, and the PayPal. The link is in the chat room. Moses was their teacher. And Moses could only teach them what he had learned, right? Right? Hit the number 1 button, family. I done ran everybody off from this conversation. This is too much for you, I see. Y'all wasn't ready for that on a Sunday morning, huh? We went 42 laws of Mayat. The 10 commandments. I get it. Y'all was not ready for none of this. Where everybody at? What's up, Devin? How you doing, man? I don't think they were.
Nah, they ain't ready for the word, brother.
They weren't ready for this one. This was a little too heavy for them. They ran the body. Mm-hmm. But go ahead. What are your thoughts, bro?
I think what you're saying is right on point, man. Once again, thank you for bringing this topic up. I think more brothers need to listen to John Henrik Clarke because he is looking at things from a very clear black man or black person's perspective. And, you know, I often thought about the same thing, man, when I see brothers saying, oh, Christianity is not the black man religion, is Islam. But I'm thinking, man, you know, the Arabs would castrate brothers, man. They were enslaving brothers and castrating them. Now, I'm not trying to say that what the white man did was any better, but I mean, I'm not necessarily, you know, I personally would prefer to take, if you're going to take an Afrocentric perspective, you need to stop embracing not the faith, not the religion, right? But the culture of the oppressor.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, I'm gonna take it a step further, and you know, I have great respect for my brothers who are Islamic, but as a black man, remember, you know, Muhammad, you know, the great prophet Muhammad was a slave owner.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so how can I, as a black man in America, be a practitioner or celebrate a religion where the central figure of focus is a slave owner?
Wow.
And I know people say stuff like all the time, oh, everybody owned slaves back then. Jesus didn't own slaves. So what's the better fit for me as a black man in America? You tell me. You see what I'm saying?
Jesus, yeah, and Jesus told us to love and accept the stranger.
Right. Yeah. You see what I mean? But I mean, this is why I don't have a romantic relationship with Christianity. I don't have a lot of black people have a romantic relationship with their religion. They finally found something they can cling on to, and they're going to hold on to it because it gets them through the day. I want to know what the Most High wants me to do. I want to know what his rules are. Anybody who wants to join in this conversation, the link is in the chat room. I want to hear what you guys have to say. I'm interested in this debate. I don't understand why nobody's joining. We always have so many people to say. We got this, what's this brother's name? I forget his name. Jordan Prince of Judah. Come on in, Jordan Prince of Judah. I want to hear what you have to say. You say you'd be in a minute. I'd like to hear what they have to say. Anybody who has any. In the meantime, what else would you like to add to this? What are your thoughts? Did you learn something today that you hadn't thought about?
Yeah, you know, I didn't appreciate that brother trying to accuse John Henrik Clarke of being a Mason. I was only making the point that in the Masonic Bibles that you find in the hotels, they do make it a point to put the Egyptian gods and Egyptian deities in the back of the Bible. And I always saw that as kind of curious, like they're, you know, I'm not a Mason, right? But it seemed like they were tacitly accepting that the African faiths, which is what Egypt is, right? Egyptology, the science of Egyptology is an attempt to separate, you know, the genius of Egypt from the black Africans who actually created it. And
you know what I don't understand? I don't understand it. And more to your point, how do you recognize that Moses was treated as a prince of Egypt and educated as a prince of Egypt, but not think that had any influence on what he taught his people, you know, and how he judged their conflicts? How do you think that I don't get that. And so
exactly,
a lot of people who I don't understand how you don't see the correlation between them.
Exactly. I tell people the same thing. I'm like, if we were in a plane and we crash landed on some island and had to start civilization anew, we would probably come up with something very similar to the American Constitution and the way that we govern our affairs and interact with each other, because that's the culture that we came from. So Moses had to take the wisdom of the pharaohs. He had to be imparting the wisdom of the pharaohs upon his people when he was leading his people.
I mean, and when you look at the 42 laws of Ma'at and you compare them to the 10 commandments, you can kind of see, well, he took the ones that were easy to understand. Thou shalt not kill, no God, but honor thy mother and thy father. And that's what, he spent 40 days and 40 nights on Mount Sinai.
Right.
I mean, think about it. You the judge, you got to sit here and judge all these people. And now you got all these people around you that you've appointed judges because it was too much for you. Well, how do you keep the laws consistent? You write them down. So you pass them out. These are the 10 laws for all you judges to follow. Now we got the law in order. So now what we got to do is we got something bringing order to this chaos amongst all these people, all these different 12 tribes, all these different personalities. Now we're going to move forward and let these folks die off. We're going to let the ones who are weak and won't fight, we're going to let them die off. In the case of Black Americans, this is going to be our social order. This is how we're going to conduct ourselves as a people. And we're going to let these clowns among us, we're going to get rid of them. We're going to let them die out. We can't separate from them because we're all in the same wilderness together. We're stuck, but we can still begin to differentiate ourselves between them and the ratchets. That's kind of what I'm saying. And so my whole point being, what we share with the Israelites is that we're all stuck together. We can't separate because all of us are Black Americans, like all the Israelites are Israelites. Some of them have a different way of seeing things, but everybody's going to have to fall in line with this structure, because if you don't, we're going to be out here wandering in the wilderness forever. You get that point? How that brings. Yeah.
Yes. We're together. We have to get on code and stay on code. And what he did was he codified it in the tablets.
Right. And that's basically it, man. Anybody else who wants to join in. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Also, please contribute to the Super Chat, the Cash App, and the PayPal. I promise you're not going to get your Baptist preacher and your Catholic preacher and your imam are not going to tell you this. The thing is, if you had read the Bible for yourself and analyzed it instead of just read it and set it down, well, who was Moses? All I'm doing is to get you to ask questions. Well, who was Moses? Well, it says here he was an Egyptian. Let me get the exact terminology. What does his mother say? He says here he's going to be treated as an Egyptian prince. Not a prince, but he was going to be treated like that. So what does that mean? What was his education? Did he get married? Where did he live? Who was he?
In the movie, I thought that was kind of what it symbolizes, right? When the Pharaoh threw his rod down and it turned into a snake, and then Moses did the same thing. I thought that was like a symbolic way of saying, yes, I was educated in your schools, and I have your power, I have your wisdom.
Yeah, and so what that tells you, he wasn't born with it; he learned it.
He was educated as a Pharaoh's son or his grandson.
It would have been his adopted grandson. Because his daughter basically treated him like a son. So you see what I'm saying? Why is it that our preachers and our pastors and our imams or whoever are afraid to go that far with it?
Because that's a black man.
They know. Yeah. They're not telling you all, but they know. And they're telling you to be afraid to go to that second step and say, well, let's read a little bit more about Moses. Who was he? Based on what we know about him in the Bible, who was he? I'm just supposed to accept the fact that he was treated as Egyptian royalty, and then I don't know what royalty was treated like in Egypt at the time? How is that? That don't make sense to me. That's not scholarship. That's not true learning. You really don't want to know the word of the Most High if you're not willing to go that far. You want to know everything about this man that you can learn, but they don't want to do that, man. You see what I'm saying? But go ahead, bro.
I think that's all part of a very elaborate scheme to keep us blind and ignorant of who we really are. Because if it comes down to your you're following Jesus, who was a follower of Moses, who was a follower of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and all of these were manifestations of African spirituality and African wisdom. Yeah. This is the fact. This is the fact. You see, they've tricked us with all of those Renaissance era paintings to deify white people, but we already know that white Jesus is not the real Jesus. We already know that, and you know, to dig this deep into this knowledge, to understand really what Kemetic wisdom was all about, is going to bring us into touch with who we are as the source. I'm talking about all peoples of Africa and of the African diaspora.
Yeah,
right?
I want to read this in Acts 7:22. Was Moses a learned man? And it's scrolling across the bottom of the screen. Moses was indeed an educated man. Luke wrote, and Moses was learned in all the wisdom of Egyptians and was mighty in words and deed. Acts 7:22. While he may have been slow in speech, we should know that in his conversations with Pharaoh, he was bold and mighty. So what does that say? He was an educated man. Now, he had an issue with his speech, but he was an educated man in what? In all the wisdom, not half, not a quarter, but all the wisdoms of Egypt. So what does that tell you? He would have known, clearly he would have known about the 42 confessions of Ma'at.
And astrology and
everything,
numerology and botany.
42 ideals of Ma'at, that's what it's called.
Yeah.
And so my thing is, let's just accept that for what it is. Let's just, and what did he know then? Mm-hmm. Even if this is what your Bible says, family. This is what your Bible is telling you. This is not me telling you that. You heard Dr. Henrik Clarke explain to you guys that, look, the Bible is allegory, it's some lessons, it's there to teach you. And I'm explaining to you all that when they left Egypt, they were what? They were in chaos. They were in the wilderness. The wilderness represents chaos, and they had to bring order to this society that was wandering through the wilderness. We as Black Americans are just like that society that's wandering through the wilderness. And so we have to begin to bring order to our society, to our group. We have to begin to establish rules and how we conduct ourselves. So for those of you all who are defending these Pookie and Ray Ray types, for those of you all who are defending ShaCarri Richardson, y'all just attacking her because she's a Black girl. It was 8 other Black women in that race. Nobody's attacking her because of her race. We're attacking her because of her behavior. This goes against what we as Black society need to get rid of the chaos. We need to get rid of that chaos. We can no longer have women and men thinking it's okay to just have 10, 15 children, 4, 5, 6 children out of wedlock. We can no longer have all of this dysfunction, boys being raised without their fathers. That is nothing more than more chaos. We got to get rid of that. We have got to have some sort of code in how we operate. We've got to get rid of that. Otherwise, what? We're going to remain in the wilderness in chaos, because God is not going to bring us to the promised land until we bring order to our society. That's the story of the Israelites. I don't care. It's not a look. There's no historical evidence that 600,000 people evacuated or left Egypt at any moment. And the Egyptians were very good at keeping their historical accounts. There's no evidence of that. Dr. Henrik Clarke says the same thing. There's no evidence of that. So what do we understand? This must be an allegory story, an allegoric type story in the Bible to teach us a lesson. And that's what it is. And you have to take it as that. I know this bothers some of you guys, because I know your pastor and your imam and all these other people have told you, if you don't believe what I tell you, even if it's not in the Bible, if you don't believe what I tell you, you're going straight to hell. I get it. But see, that's why this is for intelligent people who actually want to know the word of the Most High, who actually want to read it and understand it. This is something you could have done on your own. I didn't have to do this for you. You could have read the Bible and said, well, Moses is a what? He was educated in all the Egyptian knowledge. Well, damn, what was he educated in? Oh, okay. Well, so that's why he was able to judge these people and tell them what's right and what's wrong. And okay. And then he went up to a mountain and basically got with God, right? And he came back with a stone tablet with 10 different rules on it, which I'm sure he let all the judges know. This is how we're gonna maintain order in this society. And if it's something real small, y'all work that out amongst yourselves. That's basically what that is. Establishing a legal framework to bring this chaos under control. Who has a problem with that? We as Black people need to bring this chaos in our Black community under control. Who of you have a problem with that? Who amongst you think that's a bad idea? Who is going to let their religion and what your God-forsaken pastor or preacher or imam or whatever your religion's head, who is going to let you get away, who is going to get in your way from helping bring what? Order to the Black community that we live in right now. Anybody that does is your enemy. They want you to still remain in that chaos because they benefit from you being in chaos. They benefit from you being a lawless, codeless people who are running them up, doing whatever the hell they want to do. They benefit from that. So why would you allow them to get in the way of that? That's my question. What would you like to say, bro?
Nah, you're absolutely right, man. And I hadn't really thought about it from that perspective. They say that Moses was the only righteous man in the Bible, which meant that if he saw fit that you be put to death, that you were righteously being put to death. And to understand it from the perspective of having been raised, once again, I'll say it again, within this Afrocentric, Kemetic educational system, right? That's what made him righteous and wise enough to lead the Israelites. Or, there's also a lot of historical connections tying Moses with Pharaoh Tutmosis. And
I've heard that too.
Yeah,
I heard that was we can talk about that. You know what I'm saying? But as far as 600,000 people leaving Egypt, I ain't never heard of that.
Yeah.
But that's not something that would be something that we would talk about. That's not that long ago. You see what I'm saying? As far as this, it's not like it's 40,000 years ago. That's not that long ago. So that's what we're dealing with, man. But the link is in the chat room. Anybody who wants to join in, you're welcome to join in. Please contribute to the Super Chat, the Cash App, and the PayPal. This may be an uncomfortable conversation, but it's definitely going to cause you to think. I know that. All I'm asking you to do is inquire more about who Moses was and where he got his education, and then look at his deeds and what he was able to do, and then ask yourself, how did that happen? How was he able to go up on this mountain, be up there for 40 days and come back with these laws up on that mountain by himself with the Lord? I know you want to impute that information to the Lord. I get that. You want to say the Lord scripted it in
and inspiration.
See, I get it. I understand. I get it. I know that's what you want to say because that's what you've been told to say. But I want you to look at it with some intelligence.
Right.
The stone was up there on top of the mountain, right? And Moses was up there by himself. He came down with those 10 commandments that look very similar to the 42 ideals of Mayat, which he would have learned when what? When he would learn at the Egyptian universities that he attended.
That's right.
What does the Bible say? What does your Bible say? That same Bible that you sit next to every day? Moses was indeed an educated man. Luke wrote that Moses was learned in all the wisdom of Egyptians and was mighty in words and deeds. That's what it says. You see?
We have to re-embrace that as our own, brother. And we have to find a way to get non-sectarian moral leadership or a moral compass. I don't know if it's moral leadership per se or just, I guess some type of moral grounding for our people, man, because without a moral core, we're not going to be able to pull ourselves out of this hole, man.
All right, we got another brother in here. Miller, what's happening, man? How you doing?
Hey, how you guys doing today?
I'm good, man. Go ahead, add on to this conversation. Tell me I'm wrong. I'm going straight to hell. Go ahead.
So I'm believing like a physical heaven to hell, so I'm not going to do that. I think the when we say the 42 laws of Mayat, I would just ask.
What do you get from the story of Israel? I mean, the Israelite. What is it that you get from that story?
The Exodus.
Yes.
As far as
what lessons do you get from it? Because that's what we're talking about.
Okay. Well, they were separated from Egypt at first, and then before they entered the new land, they had to develop laws before they went into the land. Actually, but they learned the laws before they went into the new land, because if they just would have went from Egypt to the new land, they still would have been acting and behaving like the Egyptians.
Right.
So I get that from it.
And they left chaos. Remember the pestilence and plagues they had on Egypt? So you just invite more chaos on yourself. So do you understand why they had to get those laws together and then wait for those people to die off?
Right.
You see what I mean? Do you see
the
where we are as Black Americans, right? We basically freed from slavery. There's really no customs. There's no what's the word I'm looking for? Oh my God, we don't really have
no culture, no order. It's nothing. We don't follow anything but what we see.
Right. And so do you see why we have
what it did? Right, yeah. Right. That's why, for example, you I'm like, I'm a historian, so like I don't know the exact year, but like some slave abolitionists at one time, they took some slaves, like Liberia, it is land they carved out of West Africa and sent blacks back to. And when blacks got over there from America, the first thing they did was start doing what white folks did to them. And I'm starting enslaving the natives over there, enforcing Christianity on them.
Mm-hmm.
Right, there's no separation from the time period they left America and then went. Right, they just went.
They didn't get a chance. We go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
Right.
So that's a really good analogy. That's what happens when you take a people. See, we have inherited all of our oppressors' traits.
Right, exactly. That's why they spend time away from nobody.
The words that they trained us to be. You see?
Right. That's why they had the laws first. They stayed there, learned them, and then now let's go to a new land.
Mm-hmm. But you got to let the people. You got to let the old ones die off. Not just the old ones, but the ones who are lawless and are filled with that chaos. You got to get rid of them. You see?
Oh yeah, you do.
Do you understand how? Like, I've never had a preacher explain this to me.
Right, and you not either. That's not what they taught to teach. Right,
no. Why is it? And I'm gonna put you on the big screen, brother. Why is it that our pastors and our preachers and our imams and all these religions, we got a religion, we got all kind of religions that teach you all this stuff. Why is it that they never teach Black men, especially, and Black women, this? And it's right here in the Bible. It didn't take me that long to figure this out. Why didn't they teach us that, Brother Miller?
Right. That was called separation.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Not separation in the sense of, all right, let's create our own society and don't frequent these places. What causes separation? Like the same way Asians, they come here, but they still live separated. Right. You see what I mean? Like,
well, let me ask you like this. It seems amongst Black, there was an old Chris Rock joke. Chris Rock said, I love Black people. I hate N-words. Right. And so we see folks like ShaCarri Richardson, right? We see folks like ShaCarri Richardson. Does she make you proud of Black men and Black women?
Pure miss.
Okay, so if I don't know how old you are, brother, but let's say you got
a 33. I'm 33.
Okay, so let's say your son or daughter, or let's say you got 10, 15 years from now, you got a son, and he brings this ShaCarri Richardson home. That type of person, that hood rat mentality. This is the woman that he's gonna have children with, and your grandchildren are gonna be raised by this woman.
Right.
So my thing is that something you want, or do you want him to distinguish himself from that type of woman and that sort of mentality, that lawless, ratchet, ghetto, hood rat, Ray Ray, Pookie, mentality. What would you want for your son? What do you think is better for Black society?
Definitely wouldn't want that. To be honest, I think for Black society, if we can start implementing arranged marriages in our culture, I think that would help, to be honest. Because
but even in an arranged marriage, do you want him to marry a fictitious Claire Huxtable type Black woman or this ShaCarri Richardson type woman? That's what I'm talking. Let's get to
Miss Huxtable.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? So
right.
we have to begin to not separate, because we can't really separate, because they see we all the same. You know what I'm saying? But we have to begin to differentiate ourselves between them. Go ahead.
Right. I didn't mean separate like from each other. Like I mean separate like and do our own like culture wise.
Right.
Like we have our own way of living, on our way of eating. And be honest, if we did live by the Levitical laws, it would help a lot. Like as far as our health wise. And blacks as a whole, like there's no moral compass, right? It's do whatever makes you feel good. That's not,
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the things the Bible says is, and I kind of pointed this out earlier when I said, I am the Lord thy God, and thou shalt not have any other gods but me. So if you find you can't live, I can't live without this, I can't live with, that's your God then. You
right.
Can't live without your weave. She can't live without her weave, and you can't live without your shrimp and pig feet and hog milk backs. You see what I'm saying? So who's your God? Exactly. And that's why we see we're violating these laws that God says you need to have order in your society, and we wonder why we have chaos. You see what I'm saying, man?
True.
Okay, go ahead, brother.
True, no order at all. Also, you had said something about the Moses, like in the laws of Mayat as well.
Yeah, well, I was just generally talking about Acts 7:22 says Moses was an educated man, and Moses was learning all the wisdoms of Egypt, all the wisdom of Egypt, and mighty in words and deed. So he would have had to have learned that. If this is what Luke is saying in Acts 7:22, why have we ignored that? Why is it that our pastors have not told us that? And then why? See, the thing is, I'm gonna ask you this, man. If your favorite person in the world, let's say your favorite basketball player played for Kentucky, right? Wouldn't you want to know what the program at Kentucky was like? These are the type of people they created. Wow, let me see what their program is like.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So why is it that we don't want to understand the wisdom of the Egyptians that Moses learned if he's so important to us? This is what I'm trying to. Why is it that our pastors are not saying, well, look, let me tell you, I'm going to talk to you guys about Moses, but this is what he would have learned. One of the things he would have learned would have been something real easy to look up, the 42 laws of Mayat. Which, if you look at that 42 laws and you look at that at the 10 commandments, they're not the same, but my God, the principles are very similar. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, so the only thing I will push back on is that there's 613 biblical laws.
You are right about that. Go ahead. Go ahead and fill that in. Go ahead.
Also, the biblical laws are closer to the code of Hammurabi than the 42 laws of Maya. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that at all. The codes of Hammurabi, that's like the society to Mesopotamia.
When you say closer, you're basically stating that's your opinion that they're closer. I get it. I'm okay with that too.
No. As far as so the 42 laws of Maya, like I would ask, who gave the laws and who were they given to? Right. The code of Hammurabi, there was a guy who gave the laws to his people. You see what I mean? Opposed to 42 laws of Maya.
I get what you're saying.
And there's no speaker.
I get what you're saying, but we're talking about Moses and where he was educated. Because these laws, all these laws and rules have been circulating around the Mediterranean for thousands and thousands. Remember, society is like 80,000 years old, right? So they've been circulating. There is going to be some overlap.
Yeah,
like thou shalt not kill is not something that is germane to one society or another.
Yeah, I was about to say, because as far as that, like let's say like if I'm in Nigeria and you're in Morocco, right? And it rains in Nigeria, so I'll make an umbrella. And it rains in Morocco, so you make what's called an umbrella, but we never even met. Like most societies will still have an umbrella because you have to implement laws in any new society.
Right. But the whole point of the laws is to bring order to chaos. Otherwise, you can't have a society. It's no different than here in the United States. If we didn't have law and order in this United States, the worst of us would come out. And it only takes 5 or 10 to tear up a whole city. You see what I'm saying?
True.
Yeah,
true. So, and it would have to come out to survive at that point.
We would. Otherwise, it would be chaos. And so, anyway, thank you so much. Hold on a minute. Jordan, Prince of Judah, what would you like to add to this conversation? Jordan? Can't hear you, Jordan. Okay, well, we tried to get Jordan in, Prince of Judah, but he didn't answer. Devin, what else would you like to add to this conversation? Oops, you got to unmute yourself, Jordan. Devin. Devin, you got to unmute yourself. Go ahead.
Yeah, man. I think we got a lot of wisdom coming in this broadcast, man. The last brother said some really smart things. I have heard of the laws of Ma'at. I haven't heard of the other laws that he was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I do believe that
if you listen to Dr. John Henrik Clarke's speech in the link, he talks about all that. I just got the 42 laws of Ma'at because who wants to read 600?
No, absolutely.
But
and as willing as we are as a people to embrace new religion and even invent religions, I think it's high time that we take a closer look at this, at the laws of Ma'at, and actually try to guide our lives.
The problem that you're gonna have with that is that most of these religions that we have in the United States that are born here in the United States are taught to make us slaves. They're taught to make us wait for our Savior to come save us. And in the back of our minds, no matter what we say, we are still beholden to our Lord and Savior, white Jesus, who was on all of our grandmother's walls. It's taught we are not to take proactive measures to free ourselves and conquer what we feel is ours. We're supposed to wait. Go ahead, bro.
Like I said, that's why that's why, all these scammers will pop up because black folks looking for the next so-called Messiah, right? So you get people just jump in. Oh, he a great leader. Let's give him money, right? And not because I know Marcus Garvey did like a lot of great things, but I have this newspaper or this article that's made up of a whole bunch of newspaper clippings from like 1660 something all the way to 1960 something. And to that newspaper clipping, it shows where Marcus Garvey took like 250 grand from black people and went and bought some old boats that didn't work or something like that. And then that's when he got deported or something like that.
Yeah, I believe he called it the Black Star Line. I'm not sure if they didn't work or not. I'm not sure, but let's try to get this brother Jordan Prince of Judah. Jordan, what are your thoughts on this conversation? Jordan, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead. So what are the similarities or dissimilarities between the Israelites and Black Americans?
The similarities are, as you can see,
we can hear you. Go ahead. Go ahead, Jordan.
You doing dishes?
Well, I can't barely hear Jordan. Hold on a minute. Jordan, go ahead. Speak up.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. Basically what I'm saying is I totally agree with everything you're saying as far as like we got people amongst us that is not going to make it because everybody was created for a purpose, you know what I'm saying? So I totally agree with this topic. And I totally agree that we do have more people.
I think we lost Jordan again. You can call back. You got a bad signal. Let's go back to Devin.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Devin. What else do you want to add in on this thing? Because we're going over 2 hours.
But I think what you're doing is bringing us a little closer to home, man, closer to where we need to be. But you're right. We need to let go of these established churches and understand that all they did was take our Kemetic religion and fed it back to us in a method and designed to keep us enslaved.
Yeah, all I want brothers to do is to read the Bible for themselves and analyze. If you're gonna believe that much in something,
right?
If you're gonna let this govern your life, you should really invest time understanding and analyzing what's in front of you. And then at some point, we as Black folks who want to go a certain direction and move forward toward the promised land, we need to begin to differentiate ourselves between the Pookies, the Ray Rays, and the Hood Rats. Now, I'm not saying there's not some good Black folks in that group, and I'm not saying it's a poor people thing. I'm not even saying it's a rich people thing, because there's some rich Hood Rats out there. We know that. And there's some rich Pookie and Ray Rays out there, and we know that. And they are violating the code. What I'm saying is respectful, dignified Black folks who want to progress and move forward, we need to go ahead and go with that. You see what I'm saying? And we should not have an issue with doing that, because they want to stay behind in the hog pen and we want to get out of there. You understand what I'm saying, Miller?
I do 100%. I feel the same way as well, to be honest. Same time, like I worked in the urgent care for a long time, and things you see through the, because you look online and say, well, the cops doing XYZ, but like to see it in person and be from the neighborhoods, like yourself, like some of the agendas pushed on the media is like the narrative is really false, to be honest, a lot of times, and you don't want to seem like you are against your own people or whatever, but like it's like some things are what they are, the behavior is what it is, and can we say like his wealthy Pookies and Ray Rays, you see that as well with like the a lot of entertainers and things of that nature. Like you just see it, right. For example, like the Chicago artists, like they spend all that time to come up in the music industry just to stay there and keep committing homicides and keep getting shot at. It's like,
yeah, man, and see,
move away,
bro. See, you might be a Hood Rat, you might be a Pookie, you might be a Ray Ray, whatever, but your children need to be governed by this code that we have. You see what I mean? And I'm just, all I'm doing right now is I'm just sticking a pin in it. Nothing is going to change for Black people until we're able to bring order to the chaos in Black society. Right now, we're upside down. The women are in charge. They're doing whatever they want to do because they're in charge. You know what happens when you are in charge. You do whatever the hell you want to do. And what happens apparently when women are in charge? They have babies with whoever they want to have babies with, responsibly. They don't care. There's no strong leadership. They don't accept fault for their actions. These are the leaders that we have in the Black American community right now, and you wonder why we're in chaos. You see, they get the children, they put the fathers out, they try to. We see what's happening, right? And that's just not only. We got men on the other hand who are weak men who, oh yeah, baby, whatever you want to do. You got that type of guy going on.
No good.
You see what I'm saying? They would rather make these women happy than what? Do what God says do. So what does that mean they're doing? That means they're putting somebody before God. You see what I'm saying? So they're literally worshiping false gods. You should have nobody before me. What God's law is, what this code is, and if we can look, whether you're talking about the 10 Commandments or Hammurabi's code, this is how we need to begin to operate, or we will never see the promised land, because there's too much chaos in the Black community. There's too much dysfunction. And until you put that law down and you give people these social rules by how they should operate, and we, of course, I'm not saying go out and slap people up and drag them out their house and hit them with broomsticks. What I'm saying is, what we need to do is we need to begin to socially shame these people, put them back in some sort of conformity, get rid of the chaos, and then if we can't deal with them, then they'll eventually die off. We need to work on our children. You see what I'm saying? We need to work on their children. That's the code. But go ahead, Devin, and then we're gonna go to Miller, and then we're gonna get up out.
Just say
Hold on. Go ahead, Devin. We're gonna go with you first, and then we'll go to Miller. Go ahead.
Nah, man, I was just didn't want to interrupt my brother. Nah, I just want to thank you, brother. Once again, this is a really good session, and I'm trying to help us get some kind of grounding. One more time, I want to do a plug for the Black American Party, right? Visit us at blackamericanparty.com. We do have to get some type of moral structure, some type of moral guidance. So we got to get on code, whether you want to follow the Quran, the Bible, whatever of these derivatives of our Kemetic African wisdom, our Kemetic African knowledge. Read it, like you said, brother. Read it, study it, follow it, and live your life by it, man. We can't keep running ratchet. We gotta let go of ratchet culture. You know, when I was growing up, I thought all we had to do was ignore it. But what happened is the media manipulators, have taken that area, that segment of our Black American society, and have elevated it to be the representatives of all of Black America. And it's embarrassing, and it's terrible because our children are following in that footstep. And I understand what my man was saying, years ago, Chris Rock, right, about the N-words versus the Black people. And it's really always been that way, man. It's really always been that way, and we know that. I mean, we talk about using that word affectionately, but we also know that there is an N-word definition in all of this pejorative sense within Black American culture, and we know exactly who and what we're talking about within our own society when we're talking about that segment of society. And we gotta ignore them. We gotta shut them down. We gotta shut them out. Well, we can't shut them out. But we have to let us. And I don't even want to use Du Bois' term "talented 10th" because
this ain't about that. We all stuck together.
Right. Exactly.
And here's the crazy thing: there's more people who are in middle class and have skills and are educated than there are poor people at this point.
So it isn't even a 10th. Yeah, it's actually
more like the 57% of us plus the rich. And I'm just saying it's not even. We got to stop using all these outdated terms from 120 years ago too. But go ahead, bro.
We're the silent progressive majority.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we are. We're the silent progressive majority of Black people.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Devin. I appreciate that. You ended on a great note. Miller, you're up, man. What are your closing thoughts on this conversation?
We have to, like the brother saying, we have to follow like we have to have order in our chaos. There's always going to be like a subset of each race of people. So stick together thing. That works if you stick together with like-minded people, not people who are all over the place. Just like here in North Carolina, you'll see like a Chinese massage spot, but you'll also see a Chinese dentist office. You know what I mean? And they don't intermingle with each other. So that's my closing arguments. I appreciate being invited on the live stream. I got brother, I'll get my son a haircut.
All right,
scream at you.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you spending time with us. I think this has been a valuable lesson. It always enhances the conversation when other Black men come in and speak. You know what I mean? Because this is not just about what I have to say. It's about me evoking you Black brothers out there who are just living your day-to-day lives to come in and speak so everybody can hear what we have to say. So thank you very much for your time, Mr. Miller, and have a great Sunday, sir.
All right, you too, sir.
Okay, bye. All right, so I hope you all appreciate this conversation. Basically, this is your Bible, and I look at the story of the Israelites and their departure, their exodus from Egypt, from a place where they were oppressed and where there was chaos, and they went into chaos. They went into disorder, and they could not reach the promised land until two things happened. Number one, until they brought order to their society, which they did with laws. First they had Moses governing or judging the people and resolving their disputes. And then at some point, Moses went off and he got with God and brought back the 10 Commandments. which was then the way they governed the multitudes of people. And so what that did was it brought order, it brought a rule system, it brought laws, it brought a code by which the Israelites should operate. And what that did was it began to differentiate between what was order and what was chaos. If you were, killing people and disrespecting your parents and worshiping other gods, you were part of the problem. You were chaos. You see, this is who you were. If you were worshiping false gods, you were part of chaos. And then you were in violation of God's law. And there was a penalty associated with that. You were ostracized from the society. But once they got the laws in place, then it was just a matter of time of getting rid of those people who were, number one, afraid to take over the system. Afraid to take the motherland back, afraid to fight. And those who wouldn't abide by the law, they died off. Those who were prone to what Egyptians were going on, the laws of the Egyptians, as a brother brought up, he was talking about the story of when African Americans were taken to Liberia, and we did the same thing to our African brothers that the white man did to us when we were here, because we took that with us to the promised land, so to speak. And so in order for us Black people not to behave like our white counterparts here in this country, we have to we have to come up with our own laws, and we have to wait for those of us who are older to die off. That's what I'm saying. They have to literally be weeded out. We got to get a group of people who are used to following this code that benefits Black men and women. And so that's what we're doing here. You see what I'm saying? So I think that this has been a good lesson. I appreciate that. Let me see. We got a couple more. Black Gator says, so that worshiping other gods things applies to Greek fraternities and sororities. Yeah, I guess so. I don't know if they worship other gods, but I do know if you a Pookie and a Ray Ray and you in a gang, that applies to you too. If you a Crip, a Blood, a Vice Lord, or what else? Give me all the names of these gangs. That applies to you too, because you worshiping the wrong gods. Those of you guys who sell dope and you put money over everything and find women and weed, and that goes against us, that applies to you too. It's not just one fraternity or another. It's also them other fraternities and sororities. So all of that applies. So Black Gator, if you want to come in, I was going to try to get out of here, but if you want to talk about it, I'd love to have you come in and we can talk about that. So Black Gator, the link is in the chat room. Come in and expound a little bit on what you mean by that. But yeah, so the Greek fraternities, anybody who's worshiping another god. Now I don't know. I'm in a fraternity, but we don't worship another god or anything like that. I worship the Most High God, and I can't speak for everybody. But I need you to come on in here because see, I'm not going to put my salvation. I'm not going to put anything before my salvation. But see, some people, they'll destroy their people to sell drugs. They'll destroy their people because of some beef. They'll kill each other. You see what I'm saying? So all of that has to go. So when we're talking about the gangsters and the criminals and all of them need to be brought under chaos. You see, out of the chaos in the order. If that makes sense. I hope that answers your question, Black Gator. But you're welcome to come in and talk about your statement. I'd love to hear what you have to say about it. So come on in, Black Gator, and let's discuss this. Anybody who's interested in having a conversation with me, counseling or something like that, those of you guys who want to start your own business, you can hit me up at sperlingdennis@gmail.com. Anybody who wants to, let me see here what I'm doing here. Anybody who wants to contribute, if you appreciate the intellectual sort of stimulating conversations that we have here, make sure you contribute to the super chat. There's a lot of things I could be doing on a Sunday afternoon, mostly spending time with my children, but I'm here with you guys to show your appreciation. But Black Gator, again, you said, so that worshiping other gods, that applies to the Greek and fraternity sorority. I don't know if they worship other gods, though. I don't know. I know I don't, as a member of Alpha Phi Alpha, me, Martin Luther King, who else? Thurgood Marshall. We all was Christians. So, but there are, none of us put anything before the Most High. But there are people who do put their fraternity before God and God's wishes. Many of those gang members, they put the gang first. They kill other Black people. So that definitely has to go.
And so my boy Black, he said, my point is negative Black people from all walks of life need to be attacked. But see, the thing is, negative in the sense of you're bringing chaos. You're killing Black people with drugs and debauchery and hood ratism and Pookie and Ray Rayism. Yeah, that's the chaos that we're talking about, brother. You see what I mean? You in violation of that's the chaos. You killing and cutting up and acting a fool and doing all sorts of stuff and making children and that you ain't taking care of. You see what I mean? That's chaos, brother. That's that Pookie and Ray Rayism we talking about. You see, that's that hood ratism. That's misrepresenting us as a people. We can't get away from you. We can't separate from you. So what do? We need to begin to differentiate ourselves from you. So come on in, let's talk about it. I hate all this. I don't like arguing with the text messages, but what I want to do is, but again, I don't see, but see, there's more than just that law. See, there's the law of vanity, right? What does that mean? The faithful are required to honor the name of God. It makes sense that if you're too love, it makes sense that if you're too, you got to love God with your heart and your soul. You see what I'm saying? You got to ask yourself, is this vanity that you're using? Invoking the Lord's name. These are things you have to ask yourself, family. You see what I'm saying? And Black Messiah says the root of chaos is in the gender war. Well, it's part of it. You see what I mean? But but it's a lot of people that we need to get rid of. If that's the case, brother, we talking fraternities, sororities, so many of them. You see what I'm saying? Your church, in your neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? Your gang affiliation. Well, what about that? You see, what about those who are killing? I've never heard of anybody in these different sororities. They ain't really, they ain't really doing what they're doing up in Chicago, from what I understand. In LA and all the rest of these people. That's the chaos we need to talk about, brother. You see what I mean? So you can again, you are like that brother early on. When I said something that makes you upset, like he said, oh, that Dr. John Henrik Clarke must be a Mason. It burns your ears for me to hear you say that Pookie and Ray Ray hood rat mentality is destroying us and keeping us from the promised land. And so you take that personal. And so now you want to attack myself. You, of course, know that I am in a fraternity and I have great respect for my fraternity brothers. It is by no means a God. It's just simply an organization, just like a church. You see, but it bothers you it bothers you. So you want it to lash out. So you're part of the problem, brother. That's the thing. You see what I mean? If it bothers you for me to tell you, you need to correct your behavior. If it bothers you, any of you, for me telling you that ShaCarri Richardson is an embarrassment to Black people and Black women, then you're part of the problem. So you want to defend that. So this is a problem, and we need to work on that. And he says, let me see, anybody else want? I would love for you guys to come in. The link is in the chat room, but nobody's coming in. So either way, if you appreciate what I'm doing, contribute to the super chat, the Cash App, and the PayPal. That's all good. You see what I'm saying? It'll be great. Lord Jacob Rothschild said, why do older Blacks sell out and don't correct their youths? I don't know. I think it's the youths that are doing the selling out right about now. Matter of fact, I think you bought into white supremacy racism. I think that's why you exhibit a lot of this ratchet ghetto behavior that we have here. That's destroying us. I think you bought in. I think you cool with it. You see what I'm saying? I think you guys are, most of you young dudes, you're not even race loyal at any extent. So who's really the sellout? Who's really doing the snitching on each other in the street? Who's shooting each other in the street? You got to ask yourself that question, brother. When I look at you, I have to ask that. And all this blaming the youth and blaming that's something that always happens. But you got to ask yourself, what are you doing? You see what I'm saying? Yeah, that's what I want you to ask. And then my man, the youth are products of the older Black influence. Well, I'm an older Black man. Why aren't the rest of you guys lawyers and business owners? You see what I mean? That's what I want to understand. Why aren't you guys lawyers and business owners and doctors and
And why aren't you spending your time, trying to give back? Why aren't you doing that? Maybe in actuality, you are a product of who you choose to be. You see what I mean? You can always blame somebody else. I could blame the white man. Oh, I'm just a product of the white man. That's typically what people who have failed do. You look for excuses. So instead of doing that, why don't you look for reasons to succeed? And he said the homes we grew up in were broken. Well, who broke the homes up, brother? Who broke the homes up? Huh? Who's that blame go on? See, you rather blame older black influence instead of blaming your mothers. That's unfortunate, but that's who you have to blame. And you have to confront your mothers and your fathers in some occasions, and you have to begin to do what? Do better. That's what you can do, brother. But remember, in the 1950s, we were the most married group of people in America. So what happened between the 1950s and I guess the 1980s and 90s when the families broke up? That's what you got to do, brothers. You got to do better. You got to marry better women. We talk about this type of stuff all the time, man. But you can blame whoever you want to blame, and how you got in the situation you're in is one thing. But what you have to understand is that when you are in the wilderness, when you're in chaos, it doesn't matter how you got there. It doesn't matter how you got there. You can use every excuse and every reason for why you got there. We have whole classes in universities that will tell you how black people ended up in the condition that we're in. Now try to find a class or a university that teaches black people how to escape the situation that we're in. Name all the classes in universities that give courses to black people on how to escape the conditions that we're in right now. Where are they? Name them. Right? So what that means is what? There ain't nobody gonna teach you. Nobody's coming to save you. Those who do know are not gonna tell you. I'm telling you, look, using this old scripture, that until we set down some order and some structure in the black community and we begin to move ourselves away, or we begin to differentiate ourselves between these thugs and hood rats and Pookie and Ray Ray types, then we're not gonna have an order that we need in the black community, so we can walk into the promised land. That's all I'm saying, brother. And it is what it is. But you can keep on blaming. We've been blaming the white man for 500 years now. You can keep on doing that, but it's not working. We're just gonna do it for another 500 years. You see what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying. You just keep on blaming the white man. Nothing's going to change. You got to begin to work. It's going to be painful. You black men are going to have to stand up for yourselves. You're going to have to set your mark down. You have to speak to these women and say, hey, that's not acceptable. You're going to have to stop co-signing with these hood rats. You're going to have to break that simp chip that's in your brain, that Queen Mother Goddess simp
What's up, you guys? This is Uncle D, man. I lost you guys for a minute, but other than that, we had a great conversation today. I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys for your time and energy. But at this point, man, there's not really much else to talk about. This is Uncle D.